we're live, folks. Back again. This is your host of Lit Literature, JP, aka The Demon, and we are here again, finally, for revisit. I guess it would be our second revisit recap episode on The Words of Radiance by Brandon Sanderson.
It's the middle one.
That's the middle one, yeah. So
we got a special guest today.
Yeah, special guest. Although they've seen all the Dark Tower episodes, so to them the captain hasn't even been out.
Oh, that's
true. For that long.
Yeah, that's right. We put those out quite a bit after filming them.
Yeah. So nobody even knows.
Yeah.
However,
for months.
Yeah, let's do a little intro and then we'll get into this stuff.
Yeah.
So we're super pumped to have the captain back joining us, though.
Right on.
Speaking of the captain.
Yeah. Where are you, Captain?
Yeah, so rejoining you guys. I don't know how long it's going to last because I just got thrown into a dueling pit and there's 4 enemy shard bearers staring me down. And I don't have like shard plate, I don't have a shard sword, I don't have anything, so I don't know how this duel is going to go. Wish me luck.
I'm sure you have some tricks up your sleeve.
I have a feeling how the duel is going to go.
Yeah.
It was nice knowing you.
Pretty sure you're going to die. Yeah.
So,
I am
awesome.
Brett, the director.
Cherry, Josh.
Ben the Hitman.
Woohoo.
Nice shirt, Ben.
Oh, thank you.
I wonder why you're wearing it. I'm sure we'll get there. So, okay. Anyway, we really enjoyed doing our recap of The Way of Kings, which was absolutely amazing. We were really bummed to find out. So I actually did get to finish this book, which in The Way of Kings, I got almost to the end of Way of Kings, but then we did that amazing recap video, which we got to admit we were missing out very sadly this time. So that gentleman, I forget his name on YouTube, but we had a link eventually, thanks to some fans catching out that we missed a link, but we did. Well, it was late, man.
Just kidding.
Same thing at the credits, right? Mistborn, written by Stephen King. No, it wasn't. Yeah, that was a boo boo on my part. But anyway, so as it turns out, we didn't have that. We did find another recap episode, which we'll also link. Not nearly as intricate, good, or accurate, but still
Wow,
did
why
its
shit on the guy?
Jeez.
job. It's true though.
No, I mean it was good and intricate and detailed, and it was like information-wise, in my opinion, just as good. But it just wasn't as interesting to watch because the other guy did all that editing with the images and the music and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But that's what made the
some
other one so much more.
There's also some mistakes.
Oh, are there?
Yeah. Yeah,
I didn't know.
They weren't massive, and what he really did is kind of what films would do sometimes, would just like accidentally fuse a few characters together.
Oh, gotcha.
Here or they omit one place is actually 2 different places. They could do the same scene, but it was all good because the main points are there, the main details are there, the main locations and characters. So
cool. We
will have that link for you as well, and obviously our foolhardy butts will be talking about it today, so that might refresh your memory as well.
Just comment when we inevitably forget to put it in the description.
and then you know, someone better than I will put it in there. So anyway, I guess so we have some groups that just did the recaps. Some of our team just did the recaps, and some of us actually reread it. So just for the fans, Hitman and myself were able to get the time to read it. This is hard to do because we're reading a bunch of books. We've got weeks. We're trying to time it so that we could do our, read-along episodes for Rhythm of War.
Yeah,
correct.
So the other guys, I think, did recaps, right? Mm-hmm. You guys did the recaps. Okay. And memory, of course, because
I did the recap and I read half of it.
There you go. And so, we read it a while ago, so but we do have the memory, I guess, so we'll be feeding on that as well. So that's what you get. So what did you think, Hitman, your second time through, or third? Second, okay.
But yeah, I liked it just as much, if not more, than the first time. I was able to pick up a lot of more details and realize when something important was being said to slow down and look at that again.
Yeah.
And I did a little research on the Unmade.
Okay.
And what they are. We don't know a lot, but I was able to like, oh, this is really important. I need to pay attention to that.
The king of Carbranth. Or Carbranth? Carbranth. That's it, yeah.
Carbranth?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I think Carbranth.
He mentions them a little bit.
Yeah.
And this is like the only mention, just like his
King
small chapter in
Teravengian.
that, like one sentence.
Teravengian. That's it.
And yeah, it's still a super enjoyable series.
I know. Teravengian's interesting fella.
So some things, my second time through, I didn't forget how hard Shallan's past was, but I kind of did. You know what I mean? It's like when you read it again, you're just like, oh, crap. That was a little rough. So I did enjoy reading that again, paying attention to it a little more closely, catching kind of the hints that Brandon Sanderson puts in there that, we eventually find out her truths, right? Because she doesn't have to say words after the first oath.
Right.
She just has to tell truths. So that was pretty cool. Catching on a few things, thanks to some of the fans commenting on part 1, paying attention to the scenes with Wit in the past and maybe sucking down some metals and doing some legit allomancy.
Yeah.
I actually got to pay attention to that
Yeah.
because I was like, holy cow, somebody commented on it. I'm reading it and I'm like, at that scene, I'm like, I gotta pay attention to this. And
Yeah,
he
it was
legitimately
Ashlyn
does it.
and Amalia that mentioned that, and
Yeah.
I was paying attention to that as well this time through.
So there were some little cool things to that I kind of caught again, which is really cool. And then, so I definitely enjoyed it. I'm super looking forward to this book, though. And oh man, I forgot how, every time 2 scenes in this book stand out as just being insanely kind of action packed, and that's the dueling pit scene that the captain is caught himself in, and the other one is just the end, like the last part, where it's like, revival of Syl to fighting Zeth, Sun Villano, to Dalinar trying to figure out, that they're realizing that they're pushing the Parshendi back, but they're going to lose.
Yeah.
And the storms are coming. They're all pretty much dead anyway. Just like that part is so intense, which I'm sure we'll get to when we get to it. But how about recap? So for this, it would be like, since you didn't get a chance to reread it, your first perspective was obviously that it was good, but how do you feel like it's settled in your memory, and how did the recap help kind of
Well, the recap was really good, but I think it was helped by the fact that I had read half of it. So, I was kind of in the long form, and some of those memories were coming back a little bit. There was a lot of stuff that I didn't remember at all that I had read. Like you said, you forgot, kind of how hard Shallan's past was. I don't think there were some of those things. I don't think I even registered when I was reading it the first time because I was new to audiobooking and not everything was getting in. I kind of lost my focus a lot of times, but because the books are so long, I had to keep trucking on. And so there were definitely certain scenes with Shallan specifically in her past that I was just I not only did I not remember that and my memory's being jogged now, but I was just reading it for the first time or hearing it for the first time. So that was really cool. And then the recap obviously was really good for the second half as well. I wish I would have had time, because I watched the recap for the second half right before we started. I wish I would have had time to at least go back and re-listen to the dueling pit chapter, because I remember also not fully being able to process that the first time that we talked about it, but I did go back after the episode and listen to it again where I could fully focus, and it's just so good.
I needed some orange wine.
Yeah, this definitely got me wanting, so much more eager to get back into kind of the rest of the world. Going back and remembering some of the stuff. And I'm specifically, I know I'm going to go back and target after going through the reread. Going to target specific chapters to just go fully through. I definitely agree with the this one, going back to some of the revelations with the Shallan and her kind of upbringing, but really the whole ending epic battle with after the Kaladin kind of wrestling with whether he's gonna be complicit with the rest of Bridgeford and Moash going up and killing the king, or if he's gonna like kind of save the king and that whole scene. I'm really itching to kind of get back into that and read that. But the rereads are great and everything, but they're just like, it's a teaser almost, where it's like, man, I really want to get into this, but we're just running so short on time before the book comes out.
Because the recap's only an hour, and the audiobook's like 50 hours.
45 hours, 50 hours, I know.
Do we link out the actual rereads too?
We didn't link out the rereads. So actually, that's a great point.
We should put those out too, because I think that's a bit of an easier commitment than reading the entire book, but it's a better compromise because it goes chapter by chapter.
It does go chapter by chapter.
You can check it out on the Tor website.
Yeah, it is on Tor. For those of you who are interested in the rereads, they're fantastic. For the Wheel of Time, they actually published them into a book that you could buy on like your Kindle, for instance. But for this one, probably because the book series isn't all the way out yet, or they're still tend to edit them, as the books progress. But you could find them on Tor.com, and it would be like, for example, The Way of Kings reread. That's what you would put on Tor.com, or you could put it in Google, and Tor.com will hit. So they actually are fantastic if you want to kind of just get more details, like you said, compromise, but not, you don't
commit to the entire 1,000-page book.
50 hours of reading or so. But
I want a re-listen. I want an audiobook reread.
So
2 times speed.
Wheel of Time. Actually, Wheel of Time, I did it because I could get it. So I got it, I put it on Kindle, and I had Kindle read it to me.
Yeah.
Which was amazing. But I can't do it with this one yet.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, so let's just, I don't know, get into it. So I'll tell you something that surprised the hell out of me my second time is I knew Kaladin was an Isist or a racist version of Isis, whatever you would call him. Because they're all Alethi. He's very prejudiced against the Light Eyes. I could not believe how bad he was in this. Like, I forgot. I kind of knew he's very prejudiced. He was just extra prejudiced, which obviously fit the character development for his character in this piece very, very well. Because, man, was I just kind of like seeing him from like Syl's eyes just get dark and dark and dark and darker, and just, whew, man, it was dark.
Anomalia, in one of our previous episodes when we first read it, said Kaladin shows how you can be both a victim of racism and a racist at the same time.
It was
so good. And I also really like how Sanderson like makes his kind of like transformation from his prejudices so realistic, because it's like there's a difference between knowing that your prejudices are not really founded in any type of like logical fact, and then also feeling that viscerally. Like the visceral reaction you have to something is going to take longer to rewire in your brain than your logical mind knows, you know? So there's times where he's just like fully like in the emotion of it, where he just goes back to his old ways, and there's other times where he's like, oh, am I really overdoing it, you know? So,
or how many times he has to catch himself and actually try to just drag himself out of that reaction, that gut reaction instinct.
There's also a cool transition going between, like, the first book. Almost all the interactions that Kaladin have are very, like, you're almost, like, you're kind of like, okay, I agree with him hating the Light Eyes. Because, like, almost every single scene, it's the interactions with kind of, like, the bad people. And the ones that you get with the good Light Eyes, they're very separated from Kaladin for 90% of the entire book.
Right.
Which... it's easier to kind of be like, I agree with him in those cases. Like almost every Light Eye that he does deal with is like horrible. And then in this book, those really start to clash, where it's like he's legitimately working straight for Light Eyes who he's trying to respect, but at the same time has these prejudices that he just can't drop.
Yet for some reason he can't not respect Dalinar either, because everything that guy does
is so
just
good.
Proves, or is exactly how Kaladin kind of wanted him.
Yeah, Kaladin thinks that. He's just waiting like for the other shoe to drop the entire time. It's like, oh, he's acting this way, just like Alma.
Yep, it was exactly how I remember.
It's just like once he's gonna show his true colors, and he's kind of like only staying just to prove to himself that all Light Eyes
that he's right about him. Yeah.
And then he's just proving himself wrong eventually.
So I've got a question for the captain. Captain, in your memory, who was your favorite character by the time you got to book 2?
Oh man, well, yeah, I'm definitely happy to be immersed in the world of Words of Radiance again and the entire Stormlight Archive series. It's a toss-up. I mean, all of the main characters are extremely likable. Kaladin, Shallan, Dalinar, Adolin, even Zeth Sun Filano is, all of those guys you kind of root for them. So it was tough, man. And going back to the point you made earlier, Demon, about the about Kaladin becoming darker and still having a reaction to it. There was one scene that I still remember reading from my original read, which was, and I want to say it was in the first book. You guys may have covered this in your last recap, but it was a scene where his honor somehow, and Syl was then weakening as a result of that, and she was being distracted by like insects, and like she couldn't remember really important things, and she was almost losing her identity. And I remember just as a reader being like really extremely like touched by that, like, no, don't, we don't want Syl to lose her like life essence. Like, you guys got to find a way to make this rekindle this bond. I think that was in the first book, right?
No, it was in this one.
That was in this book.
Yeah, you had it right.
It was in this book. Okay,
yes.
Okay.
It was right before they fell into the chasm. That scene.
When was it, Hitman?
Right before they fell into the chasm.
Shallan and Kaladin do.
Yeah.
There was something similar in not similar, but there was something kind of like that in the first book also where Syl like did get lost for a little bit. She like went away and came back. So that might be where the confusion came in. But yeah, that was definitely this book.
Yeah. Because he made like two oaths that conflicted with each other. And he Syl like knew that, and she's like, "You can't follow this," and they were losing her powers, and he couldn't get Stormlight.
Yeah,
and then he eventually did, and he killed her.
Yeah, because the bond was weakening so much, he wasn't really able to use it, and she did it to save him, and it did kill her. Well, kill her.
Yeah, since they can't die.
They can't
like
fully die. Unmade, like kind of go back to like what Andrew was saying, right? Like being personified and then gradually turning into just like
Alzheimer's,
a wisp of emotion, or like the wind spren just floating around. That part was tough, and you know what is even worse is at that scene, the one that the captain's talking about, where Syl. You really get kind of like upset, and he starts to get upset, like almost nauseous, because he realizes what the issue is. He's made two promises, they conflict with each other, and he kind of knows, but he won't say it yet, but one of them is kind of wrong.
Yeah.
And I kind of want to talk briefly about that oath. I always thought it was so interesting because, and in my opinion, it was kind of a farce. That they even wanted to kill the king, because let's be totally honest, Dalinar was the effing king anyway. He was doing everything anyway exactly how he wanted to it. All they had was a perfect figurehead to like decoy assassins.
I think it did hamper him. Like if the king was gone, he could take full control of everything. He wouldn't need princes of information and high prince of war. He would have been that himself.
But but don't you think that if he was himself, he would have been too gung-ho. He would have probably ruined it. He might have been too aggressive. The High Princess might have overthrown Dalinar, just like everyone was cautioning him. It was almost the fact that he had the king there to kind of slow his roll slightly. Not a lot.
I think in the beginning he would have, but he realized that he was too strict in this book. And
he did.
That he had to treat them as children, and he kind of had to lead by the sword and not try to make peace with words in this book. And I think he would have. It would have been hard to hold them together if he did. But
I get Moash wanting to kill the king, like out of revenge. So he was easy to manipulate into that. Yeah, manipulate into that role.
But do you think? Also, I want to say this: that if Kaladin never promised to protect the king and listen to Dalinar, like be his soldier, would that promise to kill the king, would that have conflicted with Syl? would he have lost his power? Because in one way, it was correct.
It probably depends on how Kaladin feels internally, because it seems like it's a conviction in yourself, and that like Kaladin probably had this like underlying feeling. Well, first they were definitely contradictory, but he also had this underlying feeling that one of them was wrong. Whereas if he would have been like it's the same as like killing the Parshendi, because if you look at it like morally, like they're, especially in the beginning, their whole war is just to they protecting themselves, and they're just trying to like live through this. So real honorably, like Kaladin shouldn't be able to like go and fight them, but because it's his own convictions, I think he's allowed to, and he can use his power. So I think if he would have felt that doing it actually would have saved enough people, he wouldn't have lost his powers.
Yeah, because like he even come on to Syl like, it's wrong to kill the Parshendi, and she's like, no, it's not. It's fine. It's war.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it would have been the same thing if it would have been like, I'm making a promise to kill the king because it's the right thing to do. And if his convictions would have been strong, and he wouldn't have been conflicted about it, and he would have truly believed it would have helped, it would have been totally fine with Syl.
But the other thing is like his order is really about protection too. Mm-hmm. So like he can't just do it for the greater good, because that conflicts with life before death. Right, outcome. That's where that first oath is all about. Like, do the ends justify the means? And clearly, the oath number 1 says it's not how it works. If you want to be a radiant, the oath is that the ends do not justify the means.
But that's the same thing with the Parshendi, which he was okay with. Like the
he was
killing
protecting when he was killing.
But he could be protecting to kill Elokar too. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's your conviction.
The thing is, though, is that like phrases like "do the ends justify the means," I feel like lose a lot of gray area sometimes, because it's like you can't just say "do the ends justify the means," because every single situation is different if the ends justify the means. So I think what it comes down to is, are you just using that as an excuse, like, oh, we're doing it for the greater good so that I can execute what I want? Or are we doing it for the greater good because literally there is no other way and I don't actually want to do this?
Right,
you know
and who is he actually protecting by killing the king? Nobody. The king is like not even really the king. He's left back to get drunk
I think
on his own.
If he had the convictions and he truly believed that Dalinar would be able to save more lives and be able to do more without Elokar there, I think he could have done that and Syl would have been fine.
I understand that. But I guess my point is that he already knows. Dalinar is really the king.
If he's questioning it, I don't think so.
I wonder if it comes down to his personal perception, or if it comes down to like the actual true reality of the situation, which I guess could go hand in hand.
But then I feel like they
think about the reaction that she had to Szeth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Szeth believed that he was honor bound to do what he was doing.
Yeah.
He didn't necessarily think it was a good thing, so maybe that's where the difference comes in.
Yeah.
But like, she definitely thought that what he was doing was purely evil, even though he felt like, I have to do this, my honor is bound to it, or whatever.
But I think there are Spren that would go to him and be like, you're doing exactly what you should be doing.
Right, but not so.
Well,
yeah.
As we find out, there are some.
Yeah, exactly. But I still think that like, if it was a more of a holistic thing, she wouldn't have been okay with the Parshendi.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like, you should be fighting to protect the Parshendi too. Like, why are you choosing your people over the Parshendi? That's why I think it's much more of a conviction and a person. Same with like Szeth.
Has to do with the conflicting oaths he took.
Yeah,
like he promised to save the king, and then he promised to kill the king.
Yeah,
and that confliction within him couldn't happen with Syl.
The thing is, though, is that like the thing with the Parshendi is that choosing not to fight and fight for people that don't see you the same way yet is not choosing life over protection. It's choosing to not fight so that they can slaughter you.
Yeah.
No, the Parshendi aren't attacking though. The only thing
they were attacking Dalinar and Adel. The only time that Kaladin went to kill.
At that point, but what Syl had said that is it's okay during like it's war.
Right, that's what I mean. It's war. Like you guys are trying to kill each other. By stopping fighting, you're not going to suddenly stop the killing.
Well, if
just as much, if not more, killing may happen.
No, if what's it called? I forget the people's name.
Parshendi?
No, not the Parshendi. The Alethi. If the Alethi stopped attacking, there would be no more Because the Parshendi wouldn't have come out. Not at this point.
Yeah,
but prior to this, the Parshendi wouldn't have attacked anymore. All they had to do was do the one.
But that friends aren't connected. Like Syl isn't. She's connected to Kaladin. The only time that he went over to kill Parshendi was to save Dalinar's military when he was abandoned by Sadeas. Yeah. That was 100% protection.
But I was reading this online earlier too, and this is just a hyperbole that it says journey before destination, and that means killing one innocent to save 10 innocents is wrong. Mm-hmm. And so saving Dalinar by killing all those people
20 Parshendi is wrong.
But are they innocent in that moment if they're trying to kill Dalinar?
But they're all trying to kill each other.
Exactly. They're all
But then
wrong.
But then
that's what war is. It's turning good people into all temporarily bad people that are also good.
The thing is, Radiants are not supposed to be taking part in war.
Yeah. You're right.
I thought it had to do with the fact that she's an honor spren, and Dalinar is in this position because he was left-hand betrayed by Sadeas and left on the plateau. So I think it had to do with Kaladin seeing that, Syl seeing that, growing into a huge full version spren of herself, realizing what Sadeas did is the evilest thing that you could ever do. And he should have never been abandoned, even though the fact that, agnostic of whether they're fighting each other or not, and which side's right or wrong, that legitimate betrayal, like, absolutely made Syl super angry.
I don't know. I get where you're coming from, but I definitely think that it's more of the person's conviction. Otherwise, like, because I guarantee you, if there would be a time where there could be two warring, like, countries with Radiance that are on each, that are both like have honor spren, and they're going to be able to fight and be like, the honor's not going to be like, well, one of you's wrong and we're going to abandon you. I think it's almost definitely going to be based off of, like, that person's perception. I don't think there's a holistic honorable, like, this is the ultimate honor, and, like, we're going to side with, like, we're going to just abandon the people on that side because they're bad people and these are good people.
I don't think you have to abandon in order for that not to be true.
I think that they are going to abandon those people because they're bonding with Odium, and so in Alethi.
No, but in his example, it'd be like honor spren on both sides, so it wouldn't be Odium. So if it was honor spren versus honor spren, I think that I think that you're ultimately probably right, but I do think that there's a possibility that it could also work in a way where it's like the situation is just muddied. The situation is just muddled, and it's like you don't know. I think that sometimes there are objective situations where there is no right, there is no wrong. It's just a terrible fucking situation. Yeah. You know what I mean? I think that could be potentially one of those.
Yeah, but like I was saying, that's why the Radiants had their own city separate, and they were just separate. They were not controlled by any other government. They had their own body, and they just went in, and they felt like it pretty much destroyed the Voidbringers, and there was no other armies. Anyone who felt inclined to fight would go there, and so during that time of Radiance, there would be no conflict like that.
I think we'll see as they start to rebuild the Radiance. So we are interested in maybe what you guys think. We obviously are kind of in the middle in different ways, but I
don't know. I mean, I think I agree with Josh. I was just exploring.
Playing the devil's advocate.
Yeah. I think maybe. I see Kaladin as not really ever being in a situation where he's not protecting somebody, so I don't know that I agree. Like, the only times that he's ever really killed people, and he even made a deal with Dalinar that his men won't go fight. And the only time that they did fight the Parshendi again, and they even said, no, we could fight this time because they're not Parshendi anymore.
Right.
They're Voidbringers. And they decided that. But other than that, I don't think you're ever going to see Windrunners really battling each other in those kind of circumstances. Yeah. But when you're building up, you got to kind of start somewhere. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, he's still learning his powers and what they actually mean.
Exactly.
And he has no one to show him the way. So he made a terrible mistake, and he was fortunate enough to be able to correct it when he was protecting the king.
Ooh. Yep. That was a pretty intense scene, too. Where it was
amazing.
Yeah. how does it? There's like a hole blasted in the wall, and was there a hole blasted in the wall?
Which scene are you
Because
talking
when
right
Syl
now?
finally comes back to him, and he's like, after he had saved Alucard, like, isn't there like a hole blasted in the wall?
No.
And she comes like back.
The other shard bearer, not Moash. He got a hole in the wall.
Yeah.
No, that's Seth.
Because Zeth was out on the plains.
Well, they broke the hole that was
they
there.
reopened it.
Yeah, they reopened it to make it look like
and
he
he's
came back.
like,
yeah.
and Alucard's like not dying but knocked out.
Yeah, and then he said the second words, and like all the Stormlight in the hallway like went out.
Yep.
And then you see him light up, and then there's a frost behind him in the symbol of like wings, a glyph of wings.
Nice.
And it was so epic. That's such an epic scene, Andrew.
And then
It's Captain's favorite word.
It's true. I approve of that. The use of that word in that exact
in this situation
scenario.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
In this situation.
poor Alucard is just like knocked out on the floor, and Kaladin's like, something's happening. I must go. Frickin' flies out the window.
Well, I think first, this is actually this part. We might as well just talk about it because we're doing like Kaladin's role. So like, I forget this book is so big; it's not even close to as big as Oathbringer, and you forget that. Holy cow! The amount. If you go to the beginning of the book, because after mine finished, it started over, and I was just kind of listening to the beginning again, and I was just like, "Oh my god, this was the same book." You know what I mean? Like by the time you go from the beginning to the end, it feels like 3 books of character
development.
development.
I thought that was last book.
Yeah.
Or 2
So,
books ago.
but the amazing thing is, after all that development, you get to find out some pretty cool tidbits. Which Graves,
That's his name.
which is Graves is the other shard bearer that's like been cahoodling with Moash. With Moash.
Ash. He's Moash. He's Ash.
Ash or Moash?
He's Ash, and then Moash is Moash.
Yeah. And so he's been canoodling and conspiring with Moash to kill the king. And you find out in that moment where he sees Kaladin and he goes, I didn't know my actions would do exactly what we're trying not to do, and run away. And he was essentially working for the king of Cabranth.
Taravangian. Yeah.
And you find out then that was Taravangian's backup plan, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was interesting. He said, like, we're free to do what we want, except when we're called upon. And this was his plan, pretty much, because he wanted Dalinar to bring Dalinar into the fold.
Yeah.
And he thought this was a good way to do it, and then he ended up releasing Kaladin's like almost true potential.
Yeah, it's crazy because if you think about, I understand Taravangian's desire to save the world, and he had this power, and he's just like he got super genius, saw the future, and essentially mathematically wrote out this book. But it feels like that book, the problem is, once things start going a different direction, the whole thing's it's not valid anymore. You can't. It's kind of like you have an instruction manual, and then you find out that they sent you the wrong leg.
Yeah,
but that's what they keep hoping that he gets one of those times again where he's enough, because then they give it to him and he writes more out.
They
he like
correct
starts
it or
correcting. Yeah,
but it's like holy cow. So they find out, Dalinar could be their greatest ally if he's staying towards the path of war. But if not, if he's going towards the path of peace, he becomes a rival, and so then he's like, well, he's got to die because he's ensuing for peace. So
the world's got to burn before Odium, in order for them to be able to like. What's the whole plan? They want to. If the world's like falling apart, they can barter with Odium at the end or something.
That stuff comes more into the third book.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna wait to comment on that till that's very fresh.
It?
Yeah.
I don't know if we mentioned this at the beginning, but just so you guys know, just in case.
Spoilers
for all 3 books and probably most of the Cosmere. You should just know that anything could come out during the recaps.
Yeah. So and we did say that a lot in our first. This is really about us reflecting on it as having read it now
once.
Before, right?
A comment that Amalia left on when we talked about it the first time is the scary thing about Taravangian is that his intelligence and empathy are separate from each other.
Yeah,
big time.
In most people they really aren't different, but in him, his most intelligent days are his least compassionate, and his most compassionate days are his least intelligent.
Right.
And that's like really scary to think about, because it's like you really need both.
Well,
you know what I mean?
It's
hard to utilize your. It's not impossible, but it's hard to utilize your intelligence your intelligence for something that is beneficial to people with feelings
when you're not,
if you don't have feelings in that moment.
Well, that's
you know
what
I mean.
I had the theory when we talked in the original reads of these, that the cultivation gift wasn't just that he'd only be smart at those times, like literally that it was a pendulum. He would go between intelligence and compassionate or empathy. And I think it's really towards the end, there's going to be a point where he is going to be at a very dumb state and he's going to do something that's going to save the world because it's going to be his compassion. It's the compassionate side of him that's going to end up being what's going to be
a cool
very
theory.
pivotal thing in this story. Because I truly believe that as he gets intelligence, he loses empathy, and as he gets dumber, he gains the empathy back. As he loses that intelligence, he gains his empathy. And I think the empathy that he has in his worst moments, his quote-unquote worst moments, are going to be one of the deciding factors of this story.
But
that's nice, Josh. Nice.
It's interesting that when he's super smart, he's not allowed to make policies. Because he tried to make some policies and we'll just kill all the dumb people. But the whole diagram was made when he's at his smartest.
And they still think that's the best decision. Exactly.
So that plan has no empathy whatsoever.
Right.
Which we can see. He's
just like, we can start war everywhere we can.
Right.
Now, I don't remember if they comment on this or not in this book or the next, but what do they think of the plan during his more compassionate days? Like, does he ever look at it? Do we ever get a chapter where he looks at his plan and he's like...
He does sit there and he'll like...
He had a normal day and he went over it. Like, normal day, he was smart and compassionate.
Yeah, he was a little balanced.
Yeah.
And he was reading through it on, like, the boat trip and carriage trip.
You know what's interesting that I caught this time about it, too, that I'm really curious about, is Gavilar. So he was buddies with Gavilar. He whispers it a few times.
Yeah.
And so we know there's these like secret factions, right? You have the Ghostbloods that are related to Shallan and her kind of storyline. And then you have the
diagram followers.
The diagram followers, which he started, but he was also part of a secret organization before he started the diagram with Gavilar. Because that was before he went to go get that power and started the diagram. And Gavilar wanted to bring back the Voidbringers, which is why the Parshendi assassinated him, because he found the secret to, I believe it was he found the secret to bring, the Voidsprint. He found the secret to bring their gods back, and they were like, you cannot do that. So they killed him, and nobody understood that. He was trying to bring the gods back because he felt the world needed the heralds back. The heralds weren't going to come unless the Voidspring come back. You got this like super weird, and then also he was having visions. Like Dalinar was, and he kept hearing the stinking Stormfather say, unite him, you must unite him. And he's like, the only way I can unite him is they have a bigger enemy. And so he's thinking, like, I'm going to bring back the Voidspren because the Herald... So, like, damn it. Why are you picking an Alethi warlord both times? It worked out the second time. But why? To be your bondsmith.
It's like advice that you would get from someone, you could fix this problem by creating a much bigger problem. Which is
we'll all be fighting it together.
Right, oh boy.
Well, Dalinar doesn't go out and start a war. He's already in a war, which makes it a bit easier for him to make the right decision, to we're going to unite people.
They got it right the second time. But then again, Gavilar was reading The Way of Kings and getting into this stuff. So maybe he would have come to his senses eventually, but probably after.
But do we know that he was trying to bring the Voidbringers back, or was
the third book?
It is in the third, I believe. It's commented.
Because I was gonna say, because I thought it was just he was literally trying to unite also the Parshendi.
Yeah,
he's trying to unite everyone.
I know that he told the King of Kharbranth that he had the visions. I'm pretty sure.
Right, which is actually why they had like their own inner pocket, and actually Amaran was part of it.
Yeah.
Which is why Amaran is also trying to follow suit with his.
He's not. Is he with the Ghostbloods? Was that in this? book?
No. So Amaran is part of that group that Gavilar and Taravangian was in it.
I know, like Shallan stumbles in on like one of those. She's stumbling in on the Ghostbloods or some information.
Yeah. And actually, that's part of her backstory through this book.
Ghostbloods tried to kill Amaran the guy who interacted with Shallan with the blow dart a bunch of times.
Yeah.
Tried to assassinate him when he took the Hild from the prison or the.
Yeah.
Yeah. We actually don't know. Right. We actually don't know the Ghostblood's. We don't know yet the Ghostblood's true motive. So we know the diagram, Teravangians. It's an offshoot of, with more informed of Gavilar's. I forget what they call them. The Brotherhood. Something. I forget what Gavilar's group was called. And then there's this other group that Shallan's brother joined, which is actually an order. No. He got Shardplate joining the Justice People. What were the Justice People called?
Oh, the Stormbreakers.
Yeah, Stormbreakers. And so Shallan's brother actually. That's why. And when I read that second time, and the Ghostblood said it in book 2. They're like, I was wondering why your brother veered towards the Stormbreakers, and Shallan didn't recognize the word, so it didn't matter. But then when you go back to Shallan's vision of her, or her memory of her brother confronting her dad, and he's saying nothing but justice will come for you, justice this, justice that, like, you'll see I have more important things to be doing.
So wait a second, sorry. Okay. Does that mean, do you guys think that he bonded with Spren?
I don't think he did yet.
And that was his armor and sword?
I don't think he did yet. I think that my understanding, and this comes into the third book again, because my memory of the third book is after they are kind of recruiting Szeth, you find out that they start to bond Spren, because the Spren, I forget what they're called. They're High Spren, I think they're called.
Yeah.
The High Spren are attracted to people that are in a group, like as they're forming, which is why Honor Sprens start to kind of conglomerate around Bridge 4 and Kaladin later on and stuff. But so I think what happens is you join the group, and you kind of hope you become a squire and start to internalize the beliefs that associate. And then the Spren that are watching, they know where people like that go. Right. And so then they start the process of bonding.
Because, like, in Kaladin's group, some of them can start absorbing Stormlight, but they don't have a Spren.
They don't have a Spren yet.
So I'm thinking the same thing happened to him, except he had a 4-Shardblade and...
I don't think so, because his oaths, I don't think anyone has...
But he couldn't use that Shardblade. Do you think that Shardblade would be screaming in his head? If he wasn't...
If he had a Spren, but he might not have had a Spren at all.
Yeah.
He might not. And the other thing is we don't even know how you get the armor yet, but I can say that when you have a true armor and sword, it's glowing. Like, it glows differently than the armor that they have today.
Right.
Via Dalinar's visions, and then via the blade that they see when Kaladin, like they said, like when Kaladin's blade, it makes real shard blades, which would normally drop your socks off, look dull.
Except, like, let me go back and read that chapter when they describe it, because it's only a few pages, and then if he died, that armor and sword would be dead, and it'd just be dull like everything else.
I'd be curious, though, because I suspect, we'd have to look at it, but I suspect that real armor will be more mobile, flexible. The helmet will just disappear and reappear. Like the visors would similar to how Kaladin turned his blade into a shield, a halberd, a sword. It's like I suspect that he didn't have that.
Real quickly, this is relating to what we were talking about a little bit earlier. So the parties that we're aware of currently are the Diagrammists.
Yep.
So that's Mr. Teravangian. Ghostbloods.
Yep.
That's Shallan's. The Shamante, which I don't even recall, so let's ignore them. That might be in a further book. Skybreakers.
That's what it is. Not Stormbreakers. Skybreakers.
Sons of Honor.
That's it. Gavilar's. Amaran, Gavilar, and Teravangian used to be a son of honor,
and then
but not
there's
anymore.
Also one that I don't recall, the 17th Shard, which is the leader is called Dragon, and the members are Kaladin.
That might be from a different book series.
It could be. They might be tying into this.
Tying in some other ones.
We'll have to keep our eyes peeled for that.
Yeah,
for sure.
Because I've heard that somewhere the 17th shard.
Yeah, same.
There's
There's another podcast.
Well,
right?
there's a
Shalon's
website.
A
like,
website.
wiki that's
Okay.
No,
just everything.
Kaladin, his name shows up though. I thought he was a historical figure in this. But
Josh is on the 17th shard. Looking that up.
the website, yeah.
On the point that you guys were having on the discussion of how do the spren work and how do the shard, how does the shard gear work and stuff, I would really like in the next book to get a chapter from the perspective of one of the super small side characters again, who I'm pretty sure was in book 2. It was a tattooed guy named Axes, I believe.
Yes!
And he was studying
Yes,
Spren,
Axel.
if I remember correctly.
Or Axi.
And he gets he gets arrested for like public nudity or some ridiculous thing, and he's
forgot
like,
about
"Oh,
this,
captivity Spren."
And he's like, "Well, now, captivity." He's like, "Well, now I'm going to jail, so maybe we'll get to see and study a captivity Spren." So I would really love to see another chapter from that dude's perspective. It might be really illuminating on how all of this works.
Those were the people that can change their blue skin, right? And they can change the tattoos on their skin at will.
Yeah.
So he would like literally take notes on his skin. Such a cool concept. I hope we get more of them.
Yeah.
It's like the guy from Memento.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Just a minor detail. Do you guys think that Kaladin saw a captivity spren when he was in jail?
Oh, he did. You know, he
mentioned
was.
seeing this strange spren.
I bet it was.
That's cool.
I bet it was. I didn't even think about
Interesting.
that.
That's awesome.
Man. Interesting.
That guy's jealous.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I'm excited. We gotta do.
Man, now I gotta go read the first book again.
I know.
I think that actually is in the
second
second book.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
Well, at
actually.
least the captivity spren.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant when he was with Gaz and all that.
Oh no, when he got arrested for
After the dueling pit.
Yeah.
That's where Andrew goes
That's right,
next.
because I didn't reread that part yet. Gotcha.
to jail.
Yeah. That's
We all
right.
know that Andrew is really Kaladin's Stormlight.
Oh my god.
Hey,
brings us
tell me,
to
remind me again, guys, what colors are your eyes, real quick?
Dark.
Yeah.
Light eyes.
Pitch black.
Good.
Light eyes. Ben.
Light eyes.
Light eyes. I have hazel, so I'm like.
I think mine are.
I'm like
mine.
12th.
Mine are hazel, right?
Yeah, they're blue-green.
Yeah.
Blue green.
It's
More
you know
blue,
what?
I think.
It's cool.
Dude,
is,
I would. So my eyes would like blow their world apart. They'd be like, "What are you?"
Yeah.
No, that's like, you're like whatever. First
Dan
Dan.
or
Yeah,
whatever.
the Dan isn't
Well,
first
I
Dan.
think
it goes down,
I think any color, like any light color eyes, doesn't really matter because like Yasna's are violet. They're super rare. But like it doesn't really matter. However, your Dawn, I think, is more like your feudal hierarchy, so your family.
Could you imagine if that world discovered colored contacts?
Well, they do.
Shit
They
would go
use them.
crazy.
Oh, they
Actually,
eye
they have
drops.
dye that work temporarily.
Oh, that's
make it
right.
eye
That's
dark.
right. They do.
Darker. Yeah.
Oh, you
because it
can't
makes
go
you
light,
look,
But
less
they don't
conspicuous.
have anything yet to make you look like
Yeah,
that.
they'll figure it out. But you know, it's funny though. I love that aspect of it because as you start to learn more and more about how the shards work, how the Stormlight works, as you start to like a bond, a spren, it actually changes your eyes and how it's just like a super historical, misguided thing that just happened. And you know what it really was is the Radiants all had it, but then all of the original people who took the shards after the
Got him.
the breaking, their eyes lit up, and so then they just like had a whole feudal system based on.
Is that in this book? That's in the next book, right? Where we get the scene where they all like run after the shards or
the
whatever
first
after
book, I
the.
think.
Was that in this book?
That
First
was
book. Maybe this book.
I think it was this book.
Okay.
It was
That
one
was
of
the
the
visions.
visions.
We don't get
yeah.
the explanation of what happened till the next book, but
Okay.
the visions were in this book of that, I
I
think.
want to say it was the first book because I was just doing the clips and I thought we just talked about it.
Oh yeah, I bet we did maybe. Yeah, but
Oh,
you
that's
know,
right. It's a long one for you.
Yeah. So
That event had some special name, like the Reckoning or something like
Yeah.
that, and I can't
It was-
remember what the event
No, it was
name was, but
the betrayal something,
No,
wasn't
it's not
it?
with an R.
it started with an R.
something along
I think.
along that line.
Yeah.
Renarin.
Yes.
So
It was the
brother.
Renarin.
I love Renarin coming out at the end of this book. We don't give enough care. So actually, before I get going on Renarin,
I felt so bad for him. He's like, I'm gonna save him. It's like, we're gonna kill him too if you don't let us kill you.
Yeah, it made it worse.
Yeah, that was rough.
Like, hey, this is easier for us.
Yeah.
They're like,
hey, thanks, Renard.
Yeah.
He's just so confused by everything that's going on. The sad thing is he's actually making progress.
Join Bridge 4?
But then like, because, and we find out later, because of the Spren situation that he has, he's getting all kinds of messed up in the head a little bit.
Well, then, and he was using a Shaw blade that was not his. So when
he would scream every time,
and he was just freaked out when he was in the ring.
Yeah,
and it's like didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
Now, do we know exactly why does it scream for him? Do we learn that in this one?
Yeah, we do.
Why does it scream for him but not for anybody else?
It's
anyone who is in the process of becoming a Radiant, like Kaladin.
Oh, so if they're starting to bond with a Spren, then the dead ones become like really
they can talk to
repulsive
Spren
or whatever.
They can talk to Spren. So the alive Spren are so repulsed by it because they can sense the screaming that's still going
on.
I remember
because he can talk to Spren, when he touches it, he gets the essence of that Spren, and that Spren is dead and just like screaming, like frozen in that state.
So does that mean that the poor thing is just screaming all the time?
Yeah.
Probably.
Whenever you summon it, it's just...
So it's not like the fact that you're using it that's discomforting. It's just always screaming, and then you can hear it when you touch it.
I'm so excited to reread the next book, actually, for that whole piece in the cognitive realm.
Yeah.
Where Adolin's blade is just following him around.
Slowly starting to...
And like, just like a corpse blade.
Oh,
right? Just like...
And
you're just like...
It's so good and creepy.
He's always so creeped out by it.
He should be.
Don't we have a prep bet on that?
She's described like the girl from The Ring, where like her hair is down, and like she'll she'll glance over and you'll see her face, and she's just... She's like, oh god!
Adolin's just sleeping, and he wakes up, and he's like, ah! But we have our theories, which we've talked about before, about Adolin and his little blade, and we theorized a lot about that.
Ben and I both look at each other. Adolin and his little blade.
And how he polishes that blade.
We've talked about this, guys.
The other cool thing about Alethi, which I realized, and we talked about this a little bit last time when we were discussing Szeth, and how Szeth always has big eyes. And we're like, oh, his eyes are really big. And then we didn't realize that it's really that he's got like Caucasian eyes, and everyone else has
little eyes,
like Asian eyes or smaller eyes in Alethi. And I'm just like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. And then you realize that like that also Alethi, the light eyes are like coveted, but the dark features are coveted. So like darker hair, dark skin. Like Dalinar is straight up 100% Alethi, like all dark hair, darker complexion. We don't know how dark, but darker. Light eyes, and then because his wife was, we don't know anything about his wife in this book at all because it's I remember. But whatever her
I still think it's... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Whatever her name is, she was...
we know she was
foreign because both Renarin has less, but Adolin have like half blonde, half dark hair.
On the second reading, it seems a little weird to me that... I mean, it must have shown that he was in pain, I guess, but it seems weird that would... Because it seems like the Night Mother. Obviously, Taravangian... Night Watcher. Taravangian got his thing from her as well, right? Yeah. So obviously she's capable of some pretty hefty stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And then, like, his thing is, I want to forget my wife. Is that what it was?
Well,
a lot of people go to
that's right. We talked about this. We think it's the other one, and that was the...
Well, we know now.
Oh, do we?
Yeah.
I don't.
You don't remember. I forget what he asked for.
Yeah. But it was something else, and then that was probably his boon or whatever.
Yeah. Well, the thing is like, we found out that there was the Night Mother, but that's really just a strong spren of cultivation. And that's so right. I'm not going to go into it too much.
Yeah, we'll talk about that next episode.
There's essentially, not that I care about spoilers necessarily, but
right,
I think you'll enjoy it more when you read it. Yeah.
I'm worried about spoilers. Apparently, I haven't read the next book.
So, but yeah, so we do know that Dalinar knows he went there.
Yeah.
He doesn't really remember what kind of happened, but he says he knows his boon and his curse. And we had a lot of Brett bets going when we were reading it. Mm-hmm. And then we kind of supposedly resolved them based on the third book, which we could always reopen them.
Yeah.
So Kaladin obviously goes through a lot of development and actually kind of comes to understand that he could protect people that he hates, which was it's technically the third oath, right?
Yeah.
Because
Journey before destination.
Yep. Then it's I will protect
those who cannot protect themselves.
And then it's I will protect those that I hate, even if I hate him, as long as I know it's right.
That would have to be the fourth one, wouldn't it?
I believe it's the third one.
Third.
Is it?
Yeah, I think it was the third.
I thought it was truth before something or whatever.
I think that's all the first one.
Oh, okay.
Maybe it is two different ones.
Yeah.
Is it one long one or two different ones?
I'm not sure.
Which is kind of cool because essentially, if you're Radiant, 3 O's, at least if you're a Windrunner, gets you a Shard Blade, which is pretty cool.
But if you're a Light Weaver, you only need 1.
Yeah, well, and some hefty truths. Which
wait, she got the blade before she even.
She was 11.
But it was before she even made any oaths.
We don't know.
Maybe she made an oath then.
Must have made
so it must
one.
have been at least, but it could possibly be that you get one at one.
I was just reading stuff online, and the Light Weavers only need 1 oath.
Oh wow!
And then after that, it's just
truths
about yourself.
But is it that oath, the same one, Journey Before Destination? Is that what she did before
all
she
10 orders have the same first.
Yeah, right. So that's what she did, and she's like, Journey Before Destination.
Well, apparently she had the powers, and her mother was part of one of the organizations.
Yeah.
And she was going to kill her daughter, and then she formed the sword and killed.
And actually, you know what order I think her mother was? I don't know if we confirm this or not, but it's the same order that her brother Helleram, that's it.
Helleram.
Her brother Helleram went to was the
I think it's Helleram. I think.
He went to the
Skybreakers.
Skybreakers. And the reason that I think she was a Skybreaker is they're actively trying to kill Radiance to stop future desolation. Why they think that killing Radiance would somehow stop desolation is, in my opinion, insane. But their leader is insane, so I guess that makes sense. So, but they think that, and Helleram actually joined that organization, and this is why I think it's really cool. Is the dad joins the Ghostbloods, the mom joined the Skybreakers, and I think the dad might have joined the Ghostbloods because of what happened with the mom and the Skybreakers.
Yeah.
Because Skybreakers actively try to kill Radiance. She's part of the Skybreakers. She finds out her daughter's Radiant, goes to kill her. That's the theory, right?
Yeah.
So then she defends herself, has to kill her mom. Her dad takes the fall, gets searched out by the Ghostbloods, who might have a counter goal. Maybe this is all all theory. But what if he joins the Ghostbloods for that reason? And we don't know what the Ghostbloods want,
right?
But
I mean, even at this point, like Shallan at the end of this book is kind of like, I'll listen, or I guess like they might be able to help. Like,
that and she's worried that they might betray her and kill her family.
Yeah.
So she's like, all right, I'll listen until I get here. Figure it out.
Well, they even said that it doesn't even matter what you do. We're going to deliver them.
They say that.
They say that, yeah.
She has no proof that it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I remembered was her friend said she went to her when I always thought it came after she killed her parents because she's like, all the lies. I'm attracted to the lies.
Yeah.
But he was there before that happened. Mm-hmm. So there must have been some lies.
That's what he said. He said, I came to you because of your family and the lies.
Family. Oh, the family and the lies.
So I think that family had so many goddamn lies going around.
It was just like the whole situation. And then after that happened, well, no. She was already bonded if she could summon a sword.
Yeah. Well, that's what we don't know about how Lightweavers work. Is like for Kaladin, he couldn't do a Shardblade till the third oath. Mm-hmm. For Lightweavers, it's like one oath, and then truths. And so maybe you can do a shard blade while you're still bonding it, or she had to have at least made the oath and maybe even given a truth.
Yeah, I think the truth would have been, I don't want to die. Even if it means killing my mother.
Could be, yeah.
I mean, that's a tough truth. Like, how many people could say that? Like, oh, I wouldn't kill her even if she was going to kill me.
Yeah.
But in that situation, that was the truth.
I think we're going to find more out. We know a lot about Shallan now, but there's still more. And I think she'll find some of that out as she's doing this ghost blood stuff.
Yeah.
I definitely think in book 1, you're like, oh my gosh, Kaladin has it so hard. But I think it gets to book 2 and you're just like, God, I think Shallan's probably even worse.
Maybe. I mean, they're both just terrible.
Like, his was like super painful. He had a lot of physical anguish. I guess like his brother and the stuff that happened, but
watching his squad kill in front of him.
But I think that's all like a lot of stuff out of his control. I think it's almost even worse with the like a little girl being like, you gotta kill your mom and your and then your dad literally takes the fall for what you did.
It destroys the whole family.
And it destroys the family, and he's still protecting you, but he's also beating your brothers and then the maids, and it's just like her upbringing was, I think, worse than Kaladin's.
Well,
I think upbringing, but I think her story, it's bad.
They're both
unbelievably effing terrible.
Apparently, to become a Radiant, it seems like, unless you squire with somebody who had a painful back, so somebody has to have a really painful upbringing. Because as we find out in the third book, which is Dalinar's version of all the past, it never gets easy. Becoming a Radiant clearly sucks. At least it seems to be better to be the squire.
Yeah, right.
I'm gonna do it Lopin's way.
It almost feels like that. Now I'm getting book series mixed up with the one series where they have to like break to get their powers.
Alamancers.
It was Alamancers.
That was just the last one, right? Yeah, it's a little bit.
Mistborn.
Yeah, I think Sanderson has a soft spot in his heart for people that go through really tough times, which you should.
Yeah. So Kaladin,
really quick before we get too far off this topic, because we were kind of talking about Shallan's dad. Ashlyn made a comment when we did our first episode talking about this. As far as we know, the dad was probably a good guy for the most part, and then started to go mad after Shallan killed her mom, and he had to cover for her.
That's what it seemed
Yeah,
like.
that's what it seemed
Because he had a lot of good memories before that happened.
Yeah.
And then having Shallan kill her mother, and then
Just broke him.
I'm assuming he saw that they were going to try to kill her too. Maybe not.
And then him, like, that mental anguish of him taking the fall for it and kind of getting the
Everybody saying
dirty
he's a wife
looks
killer.
from his kids,
Yeah.
like all the sons, and you're just like, if I can't say anything because they'll freaking try my daughter, and like I have to just act like it never happened, and just...
But yeah, that does fit with Jeff's theory that he joined the Ghostbloods to get revenge on the Skybreakers, maybe.
Maybe.
But that's his motivation, and he was willing to do whatever it takes.
Or maybe, I don't know if he like purposely did it for revenge, or if because she was part of the Skybreakers, the Ghostbloods were sniffing that out. We just don't know the Ghostbloods' motive yet, but it feels like if the Ghostbloods' motive was kind of similar to Skybreakers or anything, he'd be like left field out of there. And also that conversation between Helleram and her dad. He's like, "Oh, your new friends give you Shardblade, huh? Blah blah blah." Like he kind of there's some information that they kind of get. I don't know, but another question. We talked about this a lot.
But as far as we know, she never had someone else's Shardblade, right? It was always Pattern, or did she have a Shardblade and then got Pattern? It was always Pattern, right? Yeah. Which is kind of weird because when we first meet her, she obviously doesn't acknowledge it at all. Like, just
she kind of blocked that from her mind.
Yeah, But we almost kind of like see the second introduction to Pattern. Yeah, you know.
Well, it could
like,
be that
it felt like very much like a first meeting.
Yeah,
that they hadn't talked before.
I think it would have been. I think she honestly, like when she first summoned it, was literally like in a life or death situation, and she didn't even know that there was anything beside the blade.
Well, no, she had powers, and her mother knew.
Yeah,
and then that's why
enough to want to kill her.
Yeah, because of the surges.
Yeah, it's really interesting. We'll have to find out more a little bit, but clearly light weaving works very different. Than some of the other orders. So.
Again, I've forgotten a lot about the third book, so maybe this is covered. But does anybody else get a little kind of like weirded out that Pattern seems like, you know, a cool little dude, but he also seems like kind of not, like, Syl's so moral and nice, and it's just like, oh, she would never lead Kaladin astray. Pattern almost seems like a little, like devil on your shoulder a little bit. Ooh, lies, you know? It's like, oh, is he going to be a good influence on Shallan? Like, what's going to go down?
I don't think he's a bad...
It's not that I think he's bad, it's just that, like, it is a little weird because we're used to Syl for so long, and Pattern is just, like, very different, and I feel like Shallan could probably become just a straight up bad guy, and Pattern would be like, no, it's cool, let's do it.
I find that Syl and Pattern actually do something similar, which is reflect the inside back at you.
Right.
So, like, Syl will be like, don't lie to me.
Yeah.
And he'll say it, and I'm like, is that true?
Yeah.
Really? Okay. But, like, she's always settled if Kaladin's settled. Maybe like Josh is saying.
Yeah.
But with Pattern, he's like, it's okay, you hate me. you know, and she's just like, I don't know. You know what I mean? So I think maybe it's less nudging him in another direction, more like it really reflecting your subconscious. Than anything else. So maybe she could go bad, and the type of spren that Pattern is probably wouldn't be like, you know. But actually, I take that back, because Pattern doesn't like destruction.
That's true.
You know, he even said, like, eating things is like destruction. Right. I don't like destruction.
Yeah.
You know, so, you know, I it's hard to say, but it feels like...
Yeah, but if she sat there and started destroying things and said, I'm not destroying anything, he'd be like, lies. I love it.
That's true, maybe.
Keep not destroying it.
You know, that's a good question, because how do the high spren act? We don't know, but at the end of the third book, we kind of figure out that they take a different path. So, you know, I'm not sure. I think maybe it's spren by spren.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know.
We'll see.
We'll have to see. I was gonna say, I think we talked about this a lot. We were trying to figure out why Helleran was at that battle.
We're gonna get yelled at, so I'm gonna correct you. Helleran.
It's Helleran.
Helleran.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Why Helleran was at that battle?
Beat you to it, commenters.
And we had a comment that we know for fact the Ghostbloods don't like Amaran. We know for a fact Ghostbloods don't like Amaran because he's part of the Sons of Honor and trying to, like, actively bring back the Voidbringers or Desolations.
But isn't he a Skybreaker?
If he's a Skybreaker, but he's a Skybreaker. So we think that the answer is Ghostbloods, they're going to want to kill Amaran, but he's actually probably there because he's trying to kill somebody who's bonding a spren. Right? That's what we were thinking? Like, why he'd be at that battlefield?
Possible, like him... Or he was there to bring justice to maybe Amaran because he broke some laws, and no matter how long it takes to...
I think it's still up in the air, right? So we're like, maybe he's actually there hunting for Kaladin.
Yeah.
Because he's looking for somebody who's bonding a spren, because the Skybreakers hunt out spren, as we find out in all the little interludes.
Right.
Poor shoemaker guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That one hurt. That just hurts my soul. But thankfully, Lift, who we get to meet in this book, gets out of there and makes her little teenage buddy the Emperor of Azir or whatever.
And this is something I didn't know the first time around, but I found out the second time was the Shoemaker's spren is the same spren that Lift has.
Is it the same though? Because remember, I thought it was the one that overlapped.
So it is. He would not have been. Oh wait, or maybe.
Because the Edge Dancer, Lift has friction and regeneration.
Yeah.
The one next to it has regeneration and something else.
Yeah.
And then...
He would have been... I was looking at this earlier today. Maybe that was it. That he would not have been Edge Dancer. It would have been the other one.
Yeah.
But I swear it also said that it was the same spren.
I don't know.
Well, the reason that I think it wasn't is because when he looked at his spren, it was like a glowing thing. And Lift's spren is like vine plant thing.
Yeah.
But we don't know. That's why we're all wondering, like, it seems like there's vines around Adolin's sword. What if he reawakens it? and it becomes
edge dancers are abrasion and progression.
And then what is the one connected with it?
Dustbringers are division and abrasion, and truth watchers are progression and illumination. So progression's the healing one.
Yes. No, what's the
Dustbringers, division, and abrasion.
It would have been
what's the one before lift?
That's edge dancer is Dustbringer. Division and abrasion, where she's abrasion and progression, and then truth watchers are progression and illumination.
And actually, Renarin said he was a truth watcher. But
he would have been a truth watcher.
He would have been.
Abrasion is the one where you can slide, right? You can create.
Abrasion is the friction one.
And progression's the healing.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
And it would have been a truth watcher.
So many orders.
Some of the stuff.
I know, it's so cool. I actually absolutely love how they overlap.
Yeah.
So, like, you get 2 surges. But also, I really like how the surges change based on the nature of the order. So, like, if you have one skill, like light weaving, and you're sharing light weaving, it'll be different based on your other ability and the nature of the order.
Right.
So Shallan can transform things. So her light weaving ability also allows her to influence and transform. And I love how that can happen, because you actually have the Skybreakers share one with the Windrunners. Mm-hmm. But they're totally different on the other side. They share the gravity one.
Right.
Yeah.
Which I don't know what they call that.
Yeah, there's Windrunners are adhesion and gravitation. So Kaladin can stick like a rock to a wall and let it stay there.
Binding.
Whereas the Skybreakers are gravitation and division.
They divide. So it's just really cool.
Really good at mathematics.
Gravitation and division. So they divide.
So, you know what we haven't seen, though? We haven't seen the Skybreakers really use the division piece yet. Really. So I wonder what that's going to be. Like, you could just separate things, like, decompartmentalize it.
Well, I knew that.
I mean, I could split this in half, you know?
Probably. This sounds familiar. I feel like we talked about that a little bit the first time, too. We were curious about the division. We haven't talked about it
really heard anything about the Dustbringers, who also have that. They've got the abrasion and the division, and they were apparently ones that could just like destroy things or take things apart. So I'm curious, is that like explosions, or is that just like making something turn to dust?
Yeah. I guess we'll have to find out. This is,
We're definitely on track to learn a lot more in the next book.
Really. I do like how, well, there's, you know what the crazy thing is, too, is that there's only going to be 5 with these characters.
What? That makes me sad.
Really?
Yeah. So I just found out that this 10-book series is actually going to be 2 different 5-book series.
So we only have one more after maybe this has changed, but Ashlyn mentioned it in the comments. Renarin is going to be his own book, and I think it's supposed to be book 6 or 7. So in the next part,
maybe some characters
era. Yeah, maybe there'll be some characters that kind of transfer over.
We don't know.
I guess Renarin's not technically he's a main character, but he's not like a main focus character. Like we don't get chapters with him, I don't think.
But also, it could be his own side book.
Yeah.
Knowing Sanderson.
Yeah.
So, well, okay, so we've got Kaladin. He obviously goes through a ton of growth and has one of the most epic Superman level battles on the planet over the 2 high storms at the end. That scene where he saves the king and then realizes through Syl that Szeth, son of Villano, is going for Dalinar, thanks to Graves, the big mouth scaredy cat. He flies over there and he does this like Superman save where he like lowers Dalinar via gravity softly to the ground.
He catches Lois Lane right before
but that scene was really, really fun to watch. But the true hero is actually Shallan saving the entire army on that teleport stone that she figured out. And I just remember how, like, her growth from the beginning, Yasna gets killed. She's like so unconfident and trying to like persuade slavers to take her to this place where she's just like started to talk to high princes like nothing and playing this Game of Thrones with ease.
I love how she spends like the first thing she does after she gets there, she goes into like the audience chamber with because she's with Dalinar and Adeline, and there's like one of the high prince meetings, and she goes in and she leaves, and she like, or before she even leaves, she's just sitting there, and she's like, that's the person I'm gonna align myself with. She's like taking everyone's like positions, who they're with, who they're against, seeing where they're standing, and then literally by like halfway through, she's like, that's the guy I need to align myself with because I can't be in Dalinar's pocket. Well, like that close to the family, because then I have no sway or no.
Well, she realized
no
right away that Dalinar gave her a really low scribe role. That she would have like a boss and a boss and a boss's boss and a boss's boss.
And how she goes with the one guy, and she's just like, hey, uncle. He's like, sure. This sounds interesting. She's like, the entire reason he does it, he's like, I like the look of dissatisfaction on his face, on Dalinar's face, so I just accept it. Which is awesome. Like,
she still was balancing his books and everything, too.
Yeah, Shallan literally is probably, besides Yasna, is probably the smartest.
I think it's debatable who's smarter, too.
It probably is like almost person for person.
Well, we see a lot from Shallan's perspective.
So we don't get as much from Yasna. In this book, we get a lot more of her next book.
So, next book, I'm pretty sure we have.
Wait, spoilers. No, that's at the very end of this book, too, though.
Yeah.
So,
at the very end, she has that nice conversation with Wit. You know,
Yeah.
I feel a little bit bad for Yasna in that. I'm just going to go all the way to the very end.
That's so funny. That
she-
conversation was amazing.
Yeah, it's just like, sorry, I'm just choking on air. She goes, oh, I have to hurry. I have to get to Dalinar because the Everstorm's coming. Already is. Well, I need to refound the Knights of Radiant. Already has. Like, he just like goes down
the
this
city.
list.
Already found. That's my work here.
I'm just going to go back.
I'm just like, Yasna, you might have wasted a little too much time in the cognitive realm.
I was going to bring this up. Like, her and Shallan like are two opposite spectrums. Shallan has information. She doesn't have all of it, but she's going to act on it. And she's going to try to figure it out as she goes along. Well, Yasna is like, I know a lot of information, but I need to find out more and more.
All
and
the details.
Waits until she has a lot more information, and she comes back and everything's already, well, not everything's done, but all this stuff already happened. Or if she came back sooner, she could have been more of a help, I think.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah,
I think
that's
actually we were really hurting without her, but what we did get is an amazing amount of Shallan development.
Growth.
Yeah.
Because she had to do that in Yasna's place, thinking Yasna's dead.
Yeah.
So she's like, I've got to do this because I am now the only one who can. If she knew Yasna was there, it's kind of like Yasna would have been the crutch.
Yeah.
She would have
followed her lead
Yeah.
and not have done all that other stuff.
Also, FYI guys, 8:18 p.m. Dawn Shard ebook.
Is that coming out?
Yeah, we actually
we can get it.
We actually do need to read this if we can and talk about it. So if
gonna
we
have
have time, yeah.
Yeah, we still have to do Oathbringer.
Is
Yeah.
that the book between 3 and 4?
It's
It is a
3.5.
novella. So remember how we did Lif's
Is it
Edge
that
Dancer?
short?
Yeah,
Edge Dancer.
Okay.
it is. But we need to try to do it if we can because it's actually, they said this is the biggest time skip between books. It's going to be a whole year,
Oh, dang.
a whole year time skip between this.
Wait,
third
aren't
book.
they
Oathbringer and
stuck?
fourth,
Aren't they
yeah.
stuck in the cognitive realm?
We do.
I don't.
No, they.
Spoiler alerts, man.
They're literally gonna. Well,
Brent's like, I don't remember this.
but I mean, are they literally gonna be there for a freaking year?
No, I think they
got out.
get out.
Okay. Well,
Maybe they get out in the novella.
Yeah.
Anyway, the main character is Andrew's favorite villain, Lopin.
Number one betrayer.
The one-
Literally,
dude.
nobody thought that Lopin was a bad guy except for Andrew.
Yeah.
I don't trust this Goncho.
Gonjo?
I don't trust this Goncho.
It's also funny as a side
one-armed
note. So I've been
bridge dude.
studying a lot of Japanese recently, and there's a word in Japanese that means like incredibly, like really sturdy, and it's ganjo. Yeah, so I always think of Lopin whenever I hear it.
Oh, wow.
Stick me to the wall, Goncho.
Yeah.
You gotta figure out your powers.
So
we got a comment about Wit.
Lopin's gonna get his own book. Is that
a short story, short novella?
Oh, short story. Okay,
Yeah.
I was gonna say, wow, that's pretty wild.
And we all love him, which we'll absolutely talk about him and his aunt taking care of King Gavilar. King Elokar.
The archive, the Stormlight Archive wiki says it focuses on Ryzen. That's the apprentice merchant.
Oh yeah, the merchant.
So I heard that Risen. Is it Ryzen or Risen? I'm not sure.
Well, RYSN.
Ryzen or Risen, Lopin, and there was one other character that are the main characters of Dawnshard. That's what I heard.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So
Cool.
So we had a comment, since we're talking a little bit about Wit. We had Ashlyn left a comment about Wit. I don't know exactly what Ashlyn is referring to, but we were discussing something with Wit. Actually, Wit doesn't switch places with that boy. Do you guys know? Do you know what word he's referring to? What they're referring to? He actually changed his appearance to look like that boy. Also, Wit is not a herald. He's from Yolen. Dragonsteel, which will take place on Yolen, is a story where Hoid is going to be a main character.
Yeah.
And we will get to the complete past story of the Cosmere and the full backstory of Hoid.
yeah.
No, that was when Shallan and Adolin and Kaladin. Well, Kaladin was escorting him to the
date.
for
the carnival.
The carnival, exactly. And remember, all of a sudden, it's Hoid is there. Hoid's the cabin driver, and something happens, and Kaladin looks back, and it's some other guy just being like, I don't know, he just gave me money and told me to drive this Wrath away and ran off that way.
Oh my god, I completely forgot about that, how Hoid just randomly disappears, right?
Yeah, well, but the funny thing is that the person there was like, oh, he just ran away that way and gave me some money to keep driving.
I remember the whole time.
Yeah, I remember thinking about this when I read it the first time, about how this is what I always think about in horror movies. Yeah. How they'll be running and the bad guys walking, and then they turn around and they're right there. So I always imagine bad guys in horror movies doing this ominous walk, and then as soon as the guy's running away again, he's running to catch up, and then he'll stop and be or it's Hoid to me.
Or there's got to be these scenes where it's just the guy turns around and the bad guy's there and he's running, and he turns around again, the bad guy's gone, and it goes to the bad guy's position. He's just standing behind a curtain being
Dude, so apparently Hoid is so old that even the heralds are kids to him.
Well, that's what he even said. He's what was it? Find somebody your own age or something like that.
Yeah.
Right? And Hoid's oh, if only I could. I think there might only be one of those around here or something like that.
Oh, I remember us talking about that. We were who is that?
Yeah, we were wondering.
Did we ever end up figuring that out?
No, we don't know yet. We were thinking maybe it was one of the heralds, but then we're no. The heralds are all
super young compared to him.
But the one thing that was amazing about that scene, I just loved how Sanderson set it up. So first, earlier, we learned that Shallan met Hoid as a kid.
Yeah.
And he did the Yellowmancy, and he was using some of these other hints that we didn't notice the first time. But then when they're on this date, well, first Adolin is going with Shallan. He's excited about the date. It's one of their early ones. And Kaladin is I don't trust this girl. And he sits in the cabin with him. Oop, alarm. It's bedtime. It's actually stop drinking because bedtime will be coming. But I loved that whole instance where it's he's sitting in the cabin. It's kind of awkward. They're kind of trying to talk. But I did love how that's where Shallan starts referring to him as brooding eyes, or oh, actually that's even later.
Yeah.
You know? But he's just very brooding. But Shallan knows Wit, hugs him. Kaladin knows Wit from the event where he told him the story and gave him his flute.
Yeah.
And then Adolin knows Wit as Wit.
Which is just a random jester.
And so all three of them know this guy.
Yeah.
But
from a totally different background. And then Wit's even just deflecting everything perfectly.
Yeah.
And then he's like, what did you do with my flute? Oh, no, that was later, right? That was in the prison.
Yeah.
He didn't ask him about the flute yet then. But he was deflecting everything. He's giving Shallan a giant hug.
Well, no, he just kind of stands there awkwardly. He's I didn't know what to do. Shalana's just so happy to see him. He's like, this never happened before.
Yeah, and that's when Adolin's like, find somebody your own age, and that whole thing happens. But I absolutely love the weirdness of that entire scene.
Yeah,
it was good, absolutely awesome, and put Wit in that situation. He's always somewhere for a reason, and the awesome thing is, in some of the other books, he's not there very long for his reason. But in Stormlight, he is bloody there pretty often and all over the freaking place. Yeah. So I absolutely love it.
I still like this, even though I don't think it's going to be true. I still like this idea that we came up with the last revisit of it'd be so cool if he's one of the gods, but every time he sends himself to somewhere, he's got amnesia. So he's just well, I sent myself here for something. Yeah. I just can't wait to learn more about Wit, man. He's my favorite character. And I can't wait till we get his books.
So I want to go to some, you got some comments or you want to go to some?
Nope, we're good.
Okay. So I was going to go to some other characters. First off, in this, when Kaladin is starting to train his powers, we kind of realize that Rock knows how to wrestle. Rock knows how to wrestle. He knows how to shoot an arrow. He knows how to do all of this stuff. He's not a warrior, though. Right. So we don't know his backstory yet.
Because he's not the oldest son.
But I know that we talk a little bit about this in the third book. But he's his own person all the way. I don't think he's going to squire at all. Mm-hmm. I don't think he will.
Yeah.
I think he's in his own right. He did meet Wit also. Rock tells the story. I met a god. From the well.
Oh, yeah.
He's talking about a man who came out in white hair.
Yeah. So I thought that was
getting
Wit.
Drunk.
Yeah.
And apparently...
he could see Syl. Rock.
He could, yes.
Yeah.
And he's talking about Horneater Ale.
Yeah.
When he's complaining about how when he goes to a place and he can't find any really good beer and he wants Horneater Ale and it melts the mugs that they're in.
It's just
like drinking varnish.
It's just acid.
I'm not sure.
Good Lord.
But I do like the development of Bridge 4. I think it's perfect.
Good thing you set that alarm.
It's podcasting.
I know, I'm just kidding.
Maybe we should take a quick break so some other people can get refills.
Randall Flagg. Randall Flagg,
and
Randall Flagg, thank you very much. Mm-hmm. I got the same amount.
Did you forget to get a refill?
Cheers.
Cheers.
All right, so thanks to Randall Flagg. Those of you who haven't watched the Dark Tower episodes, you should, and then you will understand
who Randall Flagg is.
And, well, actually, you could do that from many places, but I guess RF is just RF, but we call him Randall Flagg. And that's actually from Eye of the Dragon, but also Dark Tower, but also The Stand.
Let's get back to this book.
Yeah. Good. Okay. Sorry. So, Kaladin, epic fight scenes, and I think we can say that.
Yeah.
Captain has approved.
Definitely.
But
I approve the usage of that
side
term.
characters get some amazing stuff though, and we start to get a feeling that Sanderson's going to develop this a little further, right? So Teft is becoming not the captain. So Kaladin is a captain. He's essentially as high ranked as a dark eye can be. Mm-hmm. He's made Teft his trainer. So Teft is training all of the bridge crews into soldiers. Mm-hmm. But his soldiers aren't fighting, they're patrolling, they're protecting, that kind of thing. But Teft is found his little spot, being a really good trainer, captain, etc.
We get a little bit in this book that he goes out drinking a lot.
Yeah. He's got a drug habit, right?
Well,
that's not yet.
I think.
Oh, okay.
Not
yet.
well. So book 3, we know that he has a drug habit, but what the Hitman's alluding to is we don't know it yet because we only know Teft as a bridgeman, and we don't know why Teft was there. He doesn't talk about his past, but in the third book we figure out.
Yeah.
So what is happening? He's probably got his freedom. He's starting to cascade down the road by just going out to drink a lot. I mean, I would never take that path, going out to drink a lot. I don't do that.
Well, he has that path.
Well, you've never sold your uniform. Doesn't he do that or something?
That's
like
the third
that?
book.
Yeah.
So
In this book, we find out that a little bit about his family and that they were some kind of cult that, like in Mistborn, people went through the breaking.
Yeah.
Or they tried to break people to awaken the powers, except they actually killed them doing it. Not just in Mistborn where they would beat them half to death or something.
They believe that the Radiants were... I think that's why Tef was so broken about it, because, you know, his family, he was essentially raised in that cult where they're looking and trying to find people who have those capabilities, and they were taking it far by essentially going too far. And so he thought it was evil, despicable, whatever. But then he finds out later it's actually happening in front of him. And as a kid, all of that, what he probably considered mindless
stupidity and evil,
just straight up propaganda, is actually like playing into the fact that he could kind of help Kaladin through some of this, which was kind of cool.
Yeah, he ended up turning in the cult, his parents, and they all were killed.
Yeah, that's right.
Everyone who was left was killed.
I remember that now.
Yeah, I mean, what do you do when you're being born, you're being elevated in or like raised in a cult like that, and you know it's wrong, you know? But then
you find out later that it's right.
Well,
not that it was right. That not the end.
But Josh is on board with torture and killing. Gotcha.
Yeah, Teft and Shallan can bond because they're both have engaged in matricide and petricide.
Yeah.
That is a dark statement, sir, but it is very true. I love that we're starting to get these hints, and I didn't even the first time I didn't even think about it. Reading book 2, hearing Tef goes out drinking a lot. It's like, I didn't think anything of it, and then you get into book 3 and you realize, this is setting a bunch of stuff up.
I love how Sanderson just like peppers in all of this stuff
it's so good.
So well.
Yeah.
Even something as little as that, a little detail. Like, you don't have to have that little detail. You could have just had him do this thing in the next book.
Yeah. Right.
But he's got it he's laying the groundwork for even the little details. Not even just the big tentpole moments that we've now noticed.
Yep.
But just the little things too. It's so good.
And so, obviously we get the backstory of Moash. And Moash, clearly, we understand he blames Elokar for the death of his parents. He was high level, like kind of a high ranking dark eye merchant family.
Silversmiths.
And he blames Elokar. We find out, though, it's really the same guy that Kaladin hates. Which is that Roshar. Or no, Roshar's
Roshan, right?
Whole world.
Lord
Roshan,
Yeah.
or whatever. We find out that Roshan did a little, a bunch of crap that impacted...
Got him exiled.
Exactly. That impacted Moash's parents and got him exiled to impact Kaladin's parents. Yeah. So Moash and Kaladin are linked deeper.
I wonder if too this is like an effort to kind of just be like, not as like that there some of these really big like tentpole like reasons for these racisms and hatreds and prejudices, like it's just like there's just this really bad guy, like this guy's just a douchebag. And granted, like almost like there if it's like an effort to try and tie in that it's not always like a group of people are bad, and there are bad apples, and this is like almost like kind of screaming at both of them, like it's like this is just one bad guy, like you can't really go ahead and turn all of it.
Even that Sanderson has to throw something at us, because I remember in the third book, and this is obviously a bit of a spoiler for the third book, but I even remember right away in the third book, there's that moment when Kaladin confronts him. When he goes back to his hometown, and then finds out that he is an asshole, but there were good things about him even, and there were things that he didn't understand also. Not to say that he was good, definitely not bonding any spren anytime soon, but there were things that Kaladin missed the first time around. So it was just a really interesting experience to read that. I remember thinking that the first time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited to do it again for the second time. But I remember that because even though those two guys are bonded by this kind of jackass screwing both of their families, there was something else there that we don't know the whole story. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Nah, I wouldn't go so far as to call him evil maybe, but he's definitely not a good guy.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
I mean, I think examples of like just pure evil are really, really rare. Like incredibly rare. Generally, when you dissect somebody, you understand that although it's unacceptable, it's understandable for the most part. You know, there's always exceptions to that, but
that Roshan was definitely unacceptable.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, there's no reason to let the experiences make you then go on and do bad things to other people. But it's like, it can just break people sometimes, experiences, you know.
It's really interesting concept. And I really liked, and I can't remember a ton, but we get to read a lot more about Moash, obviously, in the third book. Mm-hmm. And Moash misses out on a huge opportunity to become a squire. Right.
Yeah.
And actually, I had a theory, I think we talked about it before, about Moash becoming something totally different.
Yeah.
The champion.
Maybe a champion.
Champion of Odin.
Yeah.
But we, who knows? Because, we don't know that for sure. Because it also seems like Moash is making wrong decisions, but also interesting decisions with the people that he's around. And even Kaladin, remember, I think even Kaladin, like, kind of connects with that quite a bit. So we'll have to see how that develops fully.
Yeah. I forget exactly how far Moash goes, but I do have memories of, like, obviously being very disappointed.
Yeah.
But that's as far as it goes in my mind. I don't remember if he reached the point of no return. Although, it's rare that there is a point of no return, but I don't know if he reached that. I don't remember if he reached that point or not. But I do remember it being...
Hey, Captain, did you audiobook these the original time, or did you read?
I did both. I did a combination of physical reading and audiobook. Okay. And I want to say for the third book, I probably did do both for that one as well. Okay. Why do you ask?
The reason I ask is because in my mind, I think that the audiobook has some of the best voice acting possible.
It's amazing.
I cannot even, like, Rock, Pattern, unbelievable. Ooh. And then Elokar.
Nice.
The whiny voice that they give Elokar I know. Is just absolutely awesome because it's not whiny enough to always be whiny. Yeah. It's just like... Yeah. Remember when Elokar in this book, he's like drunk, and I was doing the audiobook, and it just hits me so hard every time. He's like, Bridgeman, why do people like you so much? Can you teach me how to be a hero? And he's like, he's like, and it was my fault, and I ruined it. Yeah. It's not your fault, Sadius. It's because I ruined it. Dalinar's right, always. I can't be a leader. Yeah. And he's like having this like hilarious moment in the way that
you want to be a hero? Give Dalinar your
it's honestly one of those things that actually makes Kaladin realize he's been blind to some things.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that's one of the things that triggers that holy crap, Elokar is Dalinar's TM.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so he would never want to save the king if that didn't happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and he realized that.
Yeah,
and so it's like Elokar. The problem is he's not his father, but he's not totally incapable. Although it seems like it, it's when you actually step back and look at it, he's not totally incapable, but he's got somebody like they say about Dalinar. You walk into a room, and the guy is more intimidating than he can make. What did Shallan even said it in some quote somewhere in one of those books. Like, Dalinar can make deciding what to eat for breakfast look like the most important thing he's thinking about in the world. And you cannot interrupt him, kind of thing. And like, he could be just this overpowering force. And he even says, like, I am a tyrant learning to be something else.
Yeah.
And he just has this force. Elokar just doesn't have that.
Yeah.
And But I think that Elokar brought something that balanced some of that out. And I wonder, like you say, like just give it all to Dalinar. But if Dalinar wasn't trying to honor that bond, holy shit.
No, I'm saying that's what Kaladin would have said.
Oh, I know that's what Kaladin. Yeah. But I mean, like when I think about that, because that's what Kaladin is thinking.
Yeah.
I'm not you individually. You, sorry.
Yeah.
But it's like it's such a crazy thing to think about. Scar and well, not really Graves. They're just trying to kill.
Yeah.
Dalinar. They're trying to play the game a little bit, but Moash is thinking that, and I honestly think, that is a really interesting concept. I think, like, if without Elokar, what would have Dalinar been? And then also, we can't forget that maybe Elokar has at least some Spren would think that maybe he has, or at least some shadows in his mirrors.
I think he would have been a Lightweaver, I think it says.
I think we proved that.
Yeah. Also,
in book 3.
Yeah.
Jeff off a point. He said tyrant, and reminded me of when Dalinar met with Wit, and he was asking him these questions. It's like, "Am I a tyrant?" And Wit was like, he's gonna say something witty, and he changed his mind and said, "Yes, you are." And Dalinar looked kind of down,
like upset about it.
I don't want to be, but Wit's like, "No, this is what you need to be. This is what the world needs. In another time, another place, I would have condemned you, but you're doing the right thing
in this world."
Yeah, at this time.
Yeah.
And you know what else was cool is there was a really cool conversation between Wit and somebody else where somebody insults Dalinar, and then Wit looks at him. He's like, you just insulted the most powerful person on this planet. He said that.
Yeah.
It was like in book 1 or something, and then walked away. So I think Wit had an inkling at what maybe was transpiring at this time.
Yeah.
So
Wit always seems to know. He knows everything before anybody else does, almost.
I did absolutely love the scene where Szeth comes in and is trying to assess. Well, first, remember that we get to meet one of our favorite characters from Warbreaker.
The swordsman.
Currently a very angry, grumpy swordmaster who's currently a priest in this particular world. And he's Adolin's swordmaster, which is actually saying why Adolin's probably so good.
Yeah.
And he's going to train Renarin. And he ends up saying he'll help the guys from Bridge 4. Specifically Kaladin.
But Kaladin won't take a sword.
Kaladin has that whole moment where he's being very stubborn, and then he compares Adolin and Kaladin, like he's like, "Oh God, you guys were just alike," kind of thing. And but the best thing about it is Dalinar. They're talking about like the clap. Like catching a sword or whatever. And
getting the clap.
Yeah, getting the clap with
that's what they're talking about.
With his little sword.
But the cool thing is that he's like, oh, that's not even that practical. I mean, it's a shard blade. If you screw up, you're, all over the place in terms of damage. And then Szeth comes in to assassinate what they think is going to be Elokar. They're trying to save Elokar.
Yeah.
And as it turns out, he's looking for Dalinar.
Dalinar.
And Dalinar blade claps Szeth's
freaking sword
in that moment, and Kaladin's like watching it, and he's just like, in such awe. And then later, he's fighting Szeth again with the bonded shard blade, which, by the way, we thought might be an honor blade, but it clearly is not an honor blade.
Yeah,
something that we should consider in terms of the macro story, because the honor blade, remember when Kaladin picks up Szeth's honor blade after winning, it's not screaming. And Syl's like, that. It's not a Spren. It's like something else.
It was made by God.
Yeah. And so like it doesn't bother him. And so the other herald should supposedly have an honor blade. But what Dalinar bonded was screaming. So we know that for fact. So, but either way, he bonds it and he's fighting Szeth with it. And it's really cool because Adolin is like in awe watching him move that way. And But the cool thing is Zeth still beats him in the end, and then Dalinar actually feels at peace because he realized that no matter what happened, if he was there and not drunk, he was blaming himself for being drunk the whole time that Gavilar died. He had like lifted the weight off his shoulders because he's like, no, my brother would still be dead. Like I couldn't have done anything against this particular monster. So those were cool. Two cool developments that I noticed in this particular book. Just in terms of characters that I wanted to hit on. Obviously, Shallan, we find out, has not only killed her father, as we learn in the Chasms, used Pattern as a shard blade, but at the very end, we also find out, as her final truth in terms of progression, killed her mother and used Pattern to do so. So we learn all of those truths straight from Shallan's past story. Which is pretty crazy.
And Shallan gets so much growth in this book too, because she spends her time like really coming into her powers, as she's almost becoming like a freaking spy. So she's so getting into her ability of light weaving, particularly being able to transform her looks, transform objects around her, hide herself, being able to get into places that she shouldn't be. And that's when all the kind of the ghost bloods don't know about the powers yet, but they recognize that she's doing stuff. Like she's able to get places and do things, so they're like, she's useful. And now she's kind of this little plant on the inside, but also she's starting to kind of be like, well, what are they even doing? Like finding out all this information, and then they find out who she is, and it just gets crazy.
But we don't know their objective yet.
But we also get a hint in this book that this is the beginning of like her personality split. And she's like, man, I wish.
Who am I?
Oh, I forgot about that.
The thief.
I forget her personality.
Was down in the chasm because she would be able to handle this.
Yeah.
And then we have that split, and later we get the Radiant split, and like she has to realize like all these
parts of herself
are all the same, like one person, and combine them.
Yeah, she definitely, and that becomes a much bigger thing in the next book as she starts to wrestle with who am I, because she's almost still like it's one of those things that she keeps having to tell these truths, but just because she's told them to pattern, it doesn't mean that she's like completely accepted these. Like she still is haunted by these and still has the repercussions that are damaging her. Particularly in the personalities, which that's a great point. I completely forgot about how much that becomes a strife later as it keeps going.
You see a little bit in this book, and then the third book it really blows up.
Yeah, where it's just like, oh, if only I had this person right now, and it's like, no,
it's even worse when your other personality starts to have a massive crush on somebody else.
I mean, it would have been a nice way for all of us to win that Brett bet, so. Because she could have been with both of them.
Oh.
Randall Flagg did get me another drink. I will have to say...
Where did that come from?
Randall Flagg snuck it in.
But, I do really like that Brandon Sanderson's peppering that stuff in.
Yeah.
Amaran obviously got hoodwinked by a ingenious
Dalinar?
By Dalinar, which I absolutely loved. Like the fact that, first off, you're reading from Kaladin's perspective all the time. So he's getting pissed that Amaran's doing nothing after he told them.
Dalinar's doing nothing.
Dalinar isn't about Amaran. I'm also getting pissed in a way. I'm like, come on, man, this guy saved your life. Why aren't you doing this?
Yeah.
But then when he's in prison, he's like, I interviewed every one of the people, like this and that. Like, you have a little faith in me. I'm going to look into this. But, my man, there is no proof yet. I'm not going to go and make some claim, especially against a friend of mine, unless I'm, like, truly, deeply understanding.
I mean, not only that, but, like, even if he did just come out and say it, like, you know, hey, this guy made a accusation against you, like, what's the deal? It's not like he's going to admit it. It's not like the other people that he needs to convince of it are going to believe it. Like, he needs proof, you know?
Well, I also think a bit of a push for that was when Amaranth does not go help Adolin at
In the
the
duel.
fight. He was just
Yeah.
kind of like, wait, what? Like,
Well,
you're
my
not even...
understanding is that he didn't do that beforehand, but also before that battle, he already had the plan. He had
Yeah, I
already
think he-
bonded the shard blade when he got sick.
that was after, I think.
I thought it was before. I thought
I'm
it was.
not 100% positive, but I think that battle already happened, and he became sick later in the book.
Yeah, when he gets sick, he's secretly going into his room and bonding that shard blade. So whether it's after, it actually does make a difference because that is what Cherry's saying. Is did Amaran's unwillingness to jump in and Kaladin's willingness to jump in
kind of helped Dalinar
further,
to actually do it.
Did it
Because
or didn't
Dalinar
it?
the entire time was... I felt Dalinar might have been a 50-50, but once... It's like my son, it's my son in there. My sons are gonna die. Like someone needs to help them, and Amaran's just like can't do anything.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
I think in Amaran's mind, it's like, well, this is good because we find out that Amaran's with Sadeas, pretty much. But
I mean he is, but
that like at this, I think like at that point he's like, I don't even need to kind of put up the pretenses of being on Dalinar's good side because this is gonna ruin their family.
Yeah.
Like they're gonna lose 5 or 6 shard blades that were up, which is like most of what he'd gained over the last few months. And then it's like they're gonna lose the 2 heirs to the house, and it's just like, okay, like I don't even need to jump in. This is so he kind of showed a little bit of his true intentions by
colors,
not doing that, and that's when I think Dalinar spent a little bit more time.
I hate to defend Amaran in this situation because that is one of the reasons why he didn't go in. He didn't want to help him. But his reason for not going in, I think, is perfectly legit. If he was a Knight Radiance, it's not his place to go in and decide disputes. And that's what he said. Like, I'm the leader of this organization. I can't be meddling in house politics.
Yeah.
And Down was like, okay. But he still wasn't happy with it.
Yeah, definitely not happy. I kind of agree. That is probably... Like, at the time, it's a good excuse. Looking back here, a little bit easier to say, oh, I get it.
But here's the thing about the true Knights Radiant is you're gonna act based on like your order is based off of the ideals of your spren.
Yeah.
So I guarantee you, if Syl was watching that, even if she didn't know any of those people,
She's
she
like,
would
this
kinda
isn't
be like,
honorable.
"Nah, that's bullshit.
4
Go."
people to fight too.
Yeah, go get them.
Yeah.
And so like now the difference, the mistake that they were making.
If it was the Skypickers spend,
That's true.
They would have been like
100%. Stay up. Do not go in.
Exactly.
So it's...
That's why there's 10 orders.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah.
But the plan that Dalinar had put out...
that plan is amazing.
Yeah.
Because
So
the Radiant the Herald who came to his hometown. I forget the hometown's name.
Kolinar, I think.
Kolinar, yes. And he had that shard blade, which might not even be an honor blade.
I have a theory about that now, by the way.
Yeah, and so he used that as bait. That's when he bonded that blade, and he used it as bait to trap Amarand to see if he told him about it. Like, oh, there's a treasure hidden out there. Go find it. And then he said, oh, there's nothing out there, but he found it.
You know my theory now? This is new. I this time, I just was like, oh my god, what if you were a lower tier shard bearer? You found this guy, you tried to bond the blade, and you learned that it was an honor blade. Mm-hmm. And you switched your shard blade and had an insane guy rebond the shard blade, or like have the shard blade, even if you didn't bond it, like whatever. You just find a way. So you essentially switched an honor blade with a shard blade because the guy's insane.
It can't be a shard blade at all because when he drops it and goes unconscious, it doesn't disappear.
Originally. But
you mean after?
Yeah, but then he's in prison and it stayed there.
Because what Jeff's talking about is that blade was the one that
the blade that Dalinar took and bonded.
And he held it,
screams.
and there was no... Oh, what's those screams? Yeah.
Yeah, it has
at
screams.
At the end of the book. Mm-hmm. That's what I meant. Those screams. And so it was a spren and not an honor blade.
So I think somebody swapped blades.
Ooh. But then how come that blade wasn't... Oh, I guess if you willingly give up your blade, it doesn't disappear.
That guy's probably like, this is not even my blade. You know what I mean? Like, you just having him hold it, the blade stays. They're like, why is this blade staying? He's he's
incapacitated and he let go
should
of it.
disappear.
Yeah.
But no, how did he get the blade? Nobody knows. But then all you got to do, if you're a shard bearer already, is like swap the blades, and then you've got somebody else running around with an honor blade who has surge binding powers from that blade.
But we don't even know what order that one is, right? Because it might not be
don't know
surge
his
binding.
order,
Yeah,
yeah.
it could be any. Well,
He was a huge warrior,
Yeah.
so I suspect. I bet if we looked it up, we could find it. But I suspect he's like, what was the super
he's
military?
I bet you he's the. It's the one that I had gotten when I took the test.
Oh,
Soft plug. It's the bonds, not the bondsmiths, the stonewards.
Stonewall.
Yeah, I had them up just a second ago.
they have half of the bondsmith's capability.
Yeah, I think it's
They're like the soldiers,
The
super
stalwarts.
soldiers.
Yep. They were like the most militaristic and the best fighters, but was often contested by the Windrunners.
They could test
Kaladins.
everybody.
Yeah, obviously the Windrunners would. Damn honorable bitches.
Did you guys take that quiz? I took it. I forgot what I have to look at what I got.
I highly recommend. We should link that in the body too.
The quiz?
You can go take a quiz. That's pretty fun. That'll put you in one of the 10 orders.
So
Cool.
don't forget to comment when we inevitably forget to put it in the
Yeah.
description.
Exactly. I'm waiting on you guys. I just want to see if people care.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
It has nothing to do with editing these things late at night after work at all.
At 3 a.m. and it's due in the following morning.
Yeah, but no, that's actually a great point. I remember I have to look at what my I've never heard of my my initial testing of it. It gave me a house I've never heard of. The powers seemed cool,
Nice.
so I was like, okay.
Yeah.
I'm sure all of them are cool though. The coolest thing about the Radiance,
Stonewards. Yep.
coolest thing about the Radiance is that the capabilities combine differently for the different powers too. So although you might both have adhesion, it's a little different for you. Just like bondsmiths and what's the one that you had again?
The Stonewards.
Stonewards they have one overlapping capability, but they're a little bit different.
Yeah, we haven't really seen too much.
Yep,
Overlapping yet.
he is.
Overlapping.
So we find out that that's what's his name is Talon.
Oh, he is.
And he's a stoneward, and he is the one who spent 4,500 years in the damnation, while the other heralds abandoned him. Because he would always pick. He was also the only one that wasn't an actual royalty. He was like a peasant that came to the powers and rose up really strong, whereas all the others were like originally from famous people, houses, families type things.
Well, the other cool thing about that is not only how long he lasted, but the reputation of all Stormwards, even in the Knights Radiant, were very strong. So we've got some other characters, and we have comments and open Brett bets we have to talk about, and we're getting close to the end of this extremely long, extremely pleasant reintroduction with the captain.
Yes.
Episode. So although the captain is maybe slightly more quiet than normal, just because he's absorbing all of this information.
Exactly.
He's absorbing all this information. We get his face again in the corner of our screen, and that makes us very happy.
We'll get a lot more of him in the next one because you're going to read book 3 before we do book 4.
yeah, that's the smart thing to do. Getting a refresher before that new brand spanking new book would be awesome. So I'm definitely down for that.
Well, the cool thing is, like, I'm really excited because to do a part per week. I remember when we were doing the old ones, we were like 8 chapters.
Yeah.
And we'd do an episode, and we'd
it'd be
do
like 2
so
months.
many movies.
Yeah, the
forever.
first book we had like 20
And
episodes.
then we were having problems because it was like, well,
People are reading ahead.
we were reading ahead.
Yeah.
It was getting I had already.
We had already read it, so yeah.
But like the thing is we're gonna do it very simple. We're gonna do a read along, but don't watch the episode till you get through part 1. We're doing part 1. The great thing about Brandon Sanderson is that he writes these books in parts. And each part is the size of a fucking book anyway.
Yeah.
So we might as well just do one part at a time,
Make our Brett bets.
all the way to the end, make our Brett bets, each part. and answer them as we can, leave them open as we cannot, and we'll enjoy that. So every week we're going to film one day and release the next. That entire sequence. So
cool.
Come join us.
Yeah.
Right
So
on.
let's characters first. Final characters, then we're going to get to comments, and then open Brett bets.
We got one.
Wow.
Ooh, I don't think we had one on the first book.
We did. We had one.
Oh, we did have one.
Yeah.
What was it again? I can't remember.
I forget.
Well,
We talked about it though.
you'll have to watch that episode to figure it out.
All right. So, what are some comments that we had that we didn't cover yet? So, one was this is just something I wanted to bring up. We won't get too into it now, but Anamalia brought up, are you familiar with Plato's realm of ideals? It like really
Similar
seems
to the
relate
ideals.
a lot to like, you know, the cognitive realm and the different things like that. There's a lot of things that link. So I looked over it. I had heard of it, but I didn't really know too much about it, and I looked it up, and there's a lot of like interesting correlations. I'd be interested to know if at any point Sanderson has said that it's been a
Tied or an inspiration,
sometime
maybe?
somehow an
Yeah.
inspiration for it. But yeah, I would check it out. Plato's Realm of Ideals. If you guys are interested, go check that out. It's kind of interesting, the connection that it has.
Can also be called the
Wait,
theory
can
of
I make
forms.
a comment on that real quick? The coolest thing is that you just said that. The last memory I have of ever hearing about that is in a philosophy college class.
Yeah.
College of DuPage.
Yeah. Nice.
And I'm like, holy crap.
All right,
I
so
don't
the
remember
next
my
comment
names.
was from Ashlyn. I guess we were talking about the different forms of the Parshendi and the Parshmen. And they were saying dull form is different from slave form. Apparently the Parshendi or the Parshendi don't even consider slave form an actual form because they can't hear the songs.
Yeah.
So
That was clarified in this book, by
Yeah.
the way, because in this book we actually get, which we didn't even talk about, not even once, the fact that we get many chapters from Eshonai's perspective.
yeah.
But
I was gonna say more importantly, Shin.
Shen, yeah.
Yeah.
Shen,
Yeah,
Shen,
Shen, yeah.
Well, he makes an appearance at the end, right?
Yeah.
So as two things I would like to comment on this before we get there. As it turns
They
out,
called me truthless. Anyways,
as it
that
turns
moment
out,
breaks my heart, man.
Oh my god, dude! And he's just like he's gone insane by
Yeah.
that point. I could kill on my own time.
Yeah.
That's what he says now.
Yeah.
So, actually, we should talk about that before the time's up as
Okay.
well. So, the thing about this comment, though, that's very cool is we finally get perspective from the Parshendi,
Yeah.
and we realize, as it turns out, like Voidbringers, the old gods, it all relates to this thing going on in the background with like odium and such. And the thing that was really interesting is, so they send dull form into Alethi camps as spies because they're similar. The difference is dull form, they still have their soul or
Right.
something.
Yeah.
The slave form that we have, I guess, in Parshendi, or excuse me, in Alethi camps, probably all over the world in Roshar, has no song, no soul. Is just gone, completely gone. So that's kind of a cool thing because you realize that when Yasna's talking about Voidbringers, the Voidbringers that were stripped of everything.
Go back to the one world.
Yeah, but there was a group of people that managed to escape that, and those people are the Parshendi, and they we don't know how or why, but they have something in them, their soul still, or maybe a spren bond. We don't know exactly how it works on this world, but they have something. The spying, which is our buddy Shin. Or Shen, or his real name is Ren. No.
Oh, the Shin member of.
No. What was his name?
Parchment
Shen was
who was
his
on Bridge
name, but
4.
his real name starts with an R.
R.
Yeah. What was it again?
Renarin.
Yes.
I forgot it. It starts with an
Yeah,
R.
I forget too.
I apologize, but he comes back to Bridge 4 because he left Bridge 4. They let him go. which was amazing that he's part of Bridge 4. And then I also love that he comes back in war form. But he's like, my people are... No, they're gone.
Yeah.
they're not even here anymore. I can't.
It's a little kind of like scary to think that their entire species almost doesn't really even have control over what they can do, you know, like, because we get those perspectives from Eshonai, yeah. And then when she goes in and gets like that warrior form, she's just
storm form.
It's like involuntarily different.
It's the type of spring.
Ralain.
Yeah.
Ralain.
Ralain.
R-L-A-I-N.
Yeah, Ralain. Eshonai, so the thing is she's actually known to be very good at controlling the impulses of the various forms. So the thing is are you bonding a spren of honor?
Right.
Well, they don't bond spend in the other forms. The power forms when they bond spend of odium.
Yes.
Odium spend.
But they are bonding.
Normally they just sing songs.
They sing songs, and they can change forms, but
they still have to use spren. But the spren that they're using are spren related to honor. In the other forms.
Yeah. Maybe like that's true, but I don't know if they bond them like they do like a.
Well, they still have to go out into a storm to change their form.
Yeah.
So if they want to go from war form to mate form, or mate form to swift form, which swift form is what they use as like doctors, and they're trying to figure out art spren. Yeah. So they're doing art to try to attract spren that would like come when you do art, so they can capture it.
And then try
to bond it in a high storm. And because it's all in a high storm, all with honor spren, they have the control of it, because that's actually their original. I don't want to talk too much about it in this one, but it's
because that's conflicting. Because they also say like they were super jealous of men because the spren wouldn't bond with them.
Well, they lost all of them. Yeah. I think they used to have tons of forms.
They had tons of
and
forms.
they only have a few now. They're stuck to these very bland cookie cutter forms that they can get into.
Well, they're trying to rediscover their old forms.
But like they were mad that the Radiants would get to spend and they could bond with them, and they couldn't, and then they got the Odeon spend to bond with them.
As we learn.
So there's some inconsistency. I'm not quite sure how it's split.
I kind of know what to say right now, but I don't necessarily want to say it yet.
Save it for the next book.
Yeah.
What's in the next book?
I'll say it. So there's some question about this in this book, and we're going to save it.
Cool.
And that's probably worth it.
All right. So Anomalia commented on one of our episodes. The epigraph of chapter 64 contains the following death rattle as a quote. They come from the pit, 2 dead men, a heart in their hands, and I know that I have seen true glory. And the final part of Words of Radiance in part 4, Shallan and Kaladin, both presumed dead, emerge from the chasms with a gem heart in their hands. Oh! If the single glory spren that appears isn't enough, the chapter title is True Glory.
That's awesome. Oh, that's so amazing.
Yeah.
That's
so
really
cool. Sanderson, he says Sanderson really brought the foreshadowing game here.
But that's ingeniously done foreshadowing.
Yeah,
as you would never, ever, ever notice or pay attention to it,
especially
except for
since
subconscious.
Yeah, I think what would be really fun is when the entire series is over, is go through, and I wonder if you'd be able to go through and be like every single one of these death rattles, like that relates to this, that relates to this.
Yeah,
that relates
actually,
to this.
we were just having a debate about whether it was. Are the death rattles related to what's going on now?
Yeah.
Or are they related to what happened?
Yeah.
In the past.
Yeah, there was a part of me that wondered for a little while, like, I wondered if these were death rattles from the time when this has happened before, and that I thought maybe it was like, I don't really know if I believe this anymore, but for a while I was wondering if this was like people uncovering these death rattles that they've found and trying to link them to the present reoccurrence of this
Dude,
happening.
I have a question.
You know?
So the first book, The Way of Kings, there's the death rattles. Mm-hmm. In the Words of Radiance, what do we have in the beginning of the chapter?
We have like Yesna's journal entries.
Yeah,
journal entries, and then obviously in Oathbringer we have Oathbringer entries. Mm-hmm. Okay. Just wanted to check.
I was just gonna say that the Death Riders were from this strand of odium called Moak. Not sure how to say it, but his presence causes Death Riders, and he moves across the continent around sometimes, and they experience precognitive events in the form of cryptic utterances in the final moments of life.
That's
so
awesome.
It's about the upcoming future.
And not only that, there's as we learn later, there's other odiums, Bren, and you have another one written there, but we also have to remember the thrill itself
is an odium.
Is an odium.
But we don't learn that till next book.
Well,
we get hints on it here because the King of
mentions
Kabran talks
once.
about it. Yeah.
So it's like maybe it's moving because he says the thrill is as strong here as it is in Alethi. And
So
it's
maybe
because
it's shifting.
all the killing in that one battle out.
You know what's amazing about that I just realized when the King of Kabran says that, I only realized this because we're talking about it literally, but my memory is very deep of that scene where Adolin's fighting, and he's like, why? Normally I would feel the thrill right now. Normally I would feel this or feel that, and it's not here.
Yeah.
It's because it moved.
Yeah.
It abandoned all of Alethi.
And it's only hinted at because Sanderson's so good.
Amazing.
It's only hinted at that it's just like way over there at this point in one sentence that doesn't mean anything really to the overall architecture of the story.
I know, it's
like
so
a
good.
hanging piece of artwork in Shinra Tower.
All right, so Ashlyn commented, I don't remember this one, so hopefully you guys remember what they are talking about. So the person with Nalan
Keep going.
Oh, that's a Skybaker guy.
is the person that Nalan is with is Kalak.
Kalak's one of the first people. What do they call?
What?
He calls Yezerin his lord back in the prelude to return or
No,
Way
I know
of
that,
Kings.
but when is he with?
I don't know.
Because like Nalan is still around.
Yeah.
He's even around as he's hunting.
So
Lift.
Nalan is with Kalak apparently in one of the chapters.
Shalan? You said?
Nalan.
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 Whoa, hey,
And he calls Yezerin Lord back in the prelude in Way of Kings.
He does call.
And his Lord's blade here is Yezerin's blade, which Zeth is using.
So aka the Windrunner blade.
Yeah.
That's
also
where we
in
get
the
that.
prologue to Way of Kings, Zeth sees Yezerin sitting in front of his own statue, and Yezerin asks Zeth, "Have you seen me?" So I don't know exactly what that means, but that was the comment.
Whoa, hang on. Okay, so I got to dissect this a little bit. So Nalan is with Kalak. Okay, so what I want to ask, maybe Ashlyn Mario can help us on this.
Yeah, maybe
So
you can
Ashlyn-
clarify it a little bit, because
So,
I don't remember this.
What we want to know is when Nalan is with Kalak, is that in the chapters that he's hunting Lift? Like, I don't remember anybody like that. However, if there's like a hidden moment, because Nalan shows up a few times, hidden through these chapters.
Yeah.
Let us know where to check for that. That would be amazing.
In the novella, by any chance?
It could be.
'Cause I think you might have been talking about some stuff too.
Oh, the novella, you think so?
Yeah, I think we were talking about both of them at some point.
That's
Okay.
between 2 and 3, right?
Well, let us know anyway. Again,
Yeah, let us know.
That'll help us refresh that memory. And then what the other part was?
Zeth sees Yezerin
Yeah,
sitting in front of his own statue. I don't remember that either.
I don't either.
So if you could clarify a little bit more on that, because this seems like a really cool comment to think
And
about.
we're even rereading this.
Yeah.
But we are also rereading it extraordinarily fast.
Yeah.
Or just doing recaps. So,
A week to get to the next book.
yeah, let us know exactly where.
All right.
That's amazing.
So we only have a couple more comments. This is actually a really good point, and we almost went again without doing it.
Oh, nice.
Ashley comments, "I'm surprised you guys haven't talked about Irithiru at all."
We never do. We always run out of freaking time.
Yeah.
So it is really cool that in this book we finally realize that first of all, we realized partway through this book that the Shattered Plains is really just a city covered in creme. Which is awesome. So they're literally like running over building tops.
Yeah.
They don't even know it.
Yeah.
They're running over building tops.
The chasms are just like their streets down below, essentially.
And then they realize it when they start cutting into the buildings, and they're like, oh, these are hollow. And there's a lot of untouched furniture. But very cool concept. Secondly, they're looking for that gate. And so
they kept talking about Urithu, and it was like, oh, it exists. There's like always these reference of he entered from here, and like it doesn't make sense because it doesn't exist. It can't exist in both of these places. They each talk about going to them, heading south, heading north to get to Urithu, and finally we realized at the end that it's literally their gates almost that they would be able to take to teleport them there.
Yeah.
As it turns out, it's a place way high in the mountains that doesn't get touched by storms.
Well, it's essentially between. Is it between?
It's
the Arethi and the Shattered Plains.
No, it's pretty far away. I found it.
Okay. I thought it was like pretty central. Is it not central?
In these mountains over here.
Yeah, so it's in...
So this is the Shadow Plains.
Right over here.
Over here.
Oh, Alethkar. It's on the other side of Alethkar.
It's really central Roshar.
Yeah. It's like just south of the Pure Lake.
And the main reason that they're looking for Urithu is...
It was the home of the Radiance.
It was the home of the Radiance.
So they're hoping to find information about
the
Radiance and Desolation and Voidwingers.
Now, however, the reason that... Delokar and his army are there is they wanted to make a final...
Dalinar and Elokar. Delokar!
That's we should just call them that from now on.
They're the king! Yeah. Delokar is the king. Why assassinate one half of a man? No, I'm sorry, folks. But no, anyway, Dalinar is essentially pushing to... Not only because of the day limit, which we find out Renarin is scribbling all over every wall.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's to make a final push, gets a Vengeance Pact, and he's worried that if he doesn't find it, he's, like, ruining this prophecy.
Yeah.
So, that's kind of cool. But Renarin also is, like, freaking out. I mean, he's carving shit in walls, and he's not talking about it, and, you know.
He's, like... turned into the bug killer. He's just like in his own little world.
But what's cool is kind of the revelation at the end when she's Shallan's like I put it in here, like, oh, there's more. I need more. And then Renarin just kind of like
well, like, the thing that was cool is like he gives her the shard blade. She's trying not to use her own shard blade. But as it turns out, you need a live spread shard blade. Like, you can't just use any shard blade to turn the key. So only Radiance could turn that key, which is essentially like one of the best gates on the planet, if you think about it, just because they wanted to separate, as we talked about, their city.
From the cities, from the other.
So, and the last comment that I ported over, we might have talked about this, I'm not sure, not today, but the reason why Shallan needs 10 seconds to summon her blade is because she thinks she needs that much time. Same thing with Szeth summoning his honor blade. The reason why Kaladin can't heal his scars while Lopen can heal his arm. Perception plays a very big role in the Cosmere. It affects the magic system.
It does. And as Josh said, although I have to say we've got to define something.
You're acting like I didn't say, actually, I agree with Josh, but...
Perception does play a big part. However, I do want to say also, the cool thing is that Shallan even acknowledges that very fact in this second book, Words of Radiance. She even says, we don't even need 10 seconds.
Even though, she would.
I think that's another hint at how goddamn smart she is. So.
Yeah.
So, and also... we need to point out that 10 seconds, that 10 heartbeats, it might play a role in other characters in Book 3, which we will hopefully learn about more in Book 4.
It does seem interesting, though, that the perception is 10 seconds, but yet people that aren't even like connected to each other yet have summoned their blade in 10 seconds, not knowing that it takes 10 heartbeats. And it is interesting that it happens to be 10, which is such a big number in the Cosmere, as we've learned.
Yeah.
Just so happens to be that, even though it's perception.
How conscious can you be, though? Like, let's say that I'm Adolin in book 3, and I'm summoning my shard blade in 10 heartbeats. And it comes in 7. Do I know that?
Right.
I think, yes. Like, you might not think about it, but they say, like, they can count each heartbeat. Like, it's
part of their training that they do.
Like, no, like, when you have it, they just hear it. Like, it's part of it. So like, they always know, like, what heartbeat they're on.
The coolest thing, this concept of 10, which obviously plays a big role in the 10 orders, and the 5 orders, 10 orders, and 10 this and 10 that. But I also love the scene that I was reading. Actually, I just started reading it. That's actually from the 3rd book, I should say that.
Yeah.
I probably will forget about it, though. It's a very sub section where Dalinar was like, 10 cities, 10 this, 10 that. And he just said it all. And because I had so much blatant commentary about the 10.
About 10, yeah.
I'm like very aware of it now. And now it's showing up everywhere. Everywhere.
Dalinar's got 10 fingers. 10 toes. It's all coming up 10.
So.
And our only open Brett bet is, who is the first character to visit the Night Mother? In theory.
Oh. Now, were we meaning the Night Mother? Or were we meaning...
Cultivation.
Oh, no. I think this had to do with our bet on whether Lift or Dalinar. Went to the Night Mother first. Because both of them clearly got cultivation.
Yeah.
Instead of the Night Mother.
We'd almost think it has to be Dalinar, because... that couldn't have been it.
But
because Dalinar...
6 years. 6 years was when Gavilar died, and he went to the Night Mother, he went to the Night Mother, but got cultivation.
Well, no, but think Adolin was a child, and Renarin was just born.
No, it was after Gavilar's death.
No, it's after his wife's death.
No, it was after his wife's death, because Renarin hardly knows his mother, can barely remember his mother, so it's got to be more than 20 years ago.
No, but I thought that he actually made a move to go after Gavilar's death. He was still a drunk at that point.
I think they made a mention in this book where it was when Moash's grandparents got sentenced to jail, and Dalinar said he was evasive, like, I was out of town at that time. I think that's when he went to see the Night Mother.
So when Moash was a kid?
Yeah.
Well,
I think it was a while ago. I don't think it was anywhere near.
Moash wasn't a kid. His parents and his grandparents were 75, or his parents were 75. His grandparents, whatever. His grandparents were 75 because it wasn't a kid, because Kaladin's 20, and that's when Roshar got his ass over to screw up Kaladin's life.
Yeah.
So he would have been like 11.
I don't. My guess would be we don't know 14? The answer to it, just because.
Yeah. Well, that's why it's open.
Yeah, none of the encyclopedias have corrected us either. So,
like, all as we could keep saying is, like, my thought was that he went actually after Gavilar's death, because not just after his wife's death, but he was still a drunk buffoon even 6 years ago when Gavilar died.
Yeah.
So that was 6 years, right? So, and then you've got the time span that we meet Dalinar, he's already like another man, a totally different man, which means you probably eradicated half of those memories. But if he's a drunk during his brother's feast, I don't know that he went yet.
Well, I think he stopped drinking because he blames himself for his father's death.
If my memory serves me correct, he went on the way to the Shattered Plains.
I don't know.
That sounds familiar.
I thought he went on the way to the Shattered Plains. Like, he legitimately stopped off and said, I'll be there later.
That sounds familiar.
I thought so, but I could be totally mistaken.
It's true, because in this book, it led me to believe that he went when Alakar sentenced Roshar.
That's a great statement too, because he's like, I was out of town.
And he was kind of evasive about it when talking to Kaladin.
Yeah. And did Elhokar come right away too? Man, there's maybe more in-depth summary, knowledgeable fans can correct us. That'd be cool.
Yeah. If the answer to this is known, let us know.
Yeah. If not, we'll wait.
But we'll wait. Yeah. If we ever find out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we could at some point we'll probably be able to put enough facts together.
I would assume so.
Via the internet to find out. So cool. Any other characters? If not, I think we have talked a very long time.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Captain, any last words? It's nice to have you back, my brother.
Thanks, man. I just liked the ending of Words of Radiance with Urathiru, and it was very shocking what Adolin did in the very last chapter.
Oh my god, I love that.
Holy shit, we didn't even talk about
the
that.
alleyway shanking that he gave to Sadius was pretty shocking.
With his,
but
with his little sword. Did he choke him?
Well, that was the thing.
I thought he stabbed him through the face.
No, because I think
through the eye.
like they always think that you're gonna go
in the eye.
Yeah.
Well, no, he says they always think you're gonna go for the shard blade, and he's like, that's why he pulls out I think just one of his side knives.
Yeah.
Because they're always wary of the shard blade, and that's what he was able to kind of get the surprise.
Yeah.
Adolin's such a good warrior.
I know.
Dude, I gotta tell you though, holy shit, did that not freak the hell out of me when that happened?
Don't we have an open bet on? Is there going to be some severe repercussions to that?
I don't think it's open.
I think
it might be.
I think if we resolved that,
I think we closed it with the option to reopen it if something does come about.
Because I'm pretty sure I lost that.
Yeah.
I said that was definitely going to be the cause of some very big heartache.
Yeah.
well,
headaches for
it
people.
really helped that there was some crazy copycat murdering ghoul
thing running around.
But
that's not running around.
I could be remembering this incorrectly, and of course, spoiler coming from book 3, but we already said that. If I'm not mistaken, he ends up just coming out and saying it at some point.
He
tells
his father.
a few people.
Yeah.
And
He's pissed.
the problem is, Sadness' wife now, blames them, and she has no proof, but she's really.
she suspects.
She's getting a people around her
for her brain.
Yeah, I remember she's smart.
And
right?
so she's
spy network
against them to bring them down.
Yeah.
Way to go, Adolin.
He deserved it. Sadius deserved it.
He did, but you can't just do that.
Well, even Dalinar said, I wish we need all the able generals we can have. But honestly, that guy would have just continued
To be a
you never know, though.
Before he died, he was
had-
like, I'm going to take everything from him. This is going to be mine.
Yeah.
And so,
he does, say that.
Yeah.
Because he is weak. He cannot rule
now
it.
you have a knife through your face.
Say that to the best dueling champion.
Yeah,
on the
I know,
planet.
exactly.
You can start by taking his knife.
You know what? You know what the thing is, and Adolin even said that, and I'll leave it at that. Is you say this to me because my father thinks I'm a good man and has said I'm a good man, but I'm not as good of a man as him.
Yeah, he says that, but I think he is.
No, he did that. That's like
Obviously, he's
no,
not.
no. That's not true at all. Dalinar has done 100 times worse,
Not now.
1,000 times worse.
Not now. Not since.
Well,
it's
he's
changed.
not 22.
Yeah, I know. but you're obviously comparing the two current forms of themselves.
Oh, that's true.
Not
That's
who
true.
they are as
Current
current
Dalinar is a very good man.
Yeah. It's like who's the better basketball player?
Michael Jordan.
Some little kid or Michael Jordan? It's like, well, I don't know. Michael Jordan is right now.
Yeah. I get what you're saying. However, my only point is that I think at the same age, Dalinar was seriously way more
Way
ruthless.
worse. Yeah.
He would have killed Sadius a long time ago.
I mean, I think it was a mistake. Not much more of a mistake, but it wasn't a good thing that he killed him. But it just doesn't negate the fact that Adolin is still a good guy. Good man.
This is the thing, though, is that even though I think young Dalinar definitely would have done a lot more killing, I think young Dalinar would have thought that he was doing what was necessary and the good thing. Whereas I felt like Adolin while doing it was like, this is not a good idea. He wasn't doing it to protect. He wasn't doing it for anything. He just did it because he was angry.
Yeah, he was doing it passion's white heat, as they used to call it.
I don't think he's a bad guy. I don't think that this automatically dooms him.
I don't know what Sadeas is even thinking, because all his Adolin...
Well, now we'll never know.
Yeah, all his Adolin constantly was thinking about in all of his chapters, every time Sadeas walked in, was like, I'm going to kill them.
Yeah. How do I get this guy to duel me?
How do I get him to duel me? How do I kill him? Can I just do it? And there was chapters where we were reading from Adolin's perspective in this second book, where he's like, it'd be worth it to die.
Yeah.
If I just killed him right now.
I know.
It'd be worth it. He's like that close.
He's like a Kaladin versus Amaran.
You run into a guy who's that close to killing you in public at any time ever.
Willing to die for it. And now there's potentially no ramifications.
In the back of essentially a random alley, but essentially a completely unexplored dark crevice of an area that nobody will ever find for a very long time. And then you say the shit that you said to him. It's like, you're going to die, dude. I don't know.
I'm actually, because he seems to be such a strategic person, I'm a little surprised that he didn't take that into account at all.
I think the thrill was playing a piece of it.
Yeah. I thought the thrill had moved on.
I think the thrill is looking for another champion now that Dalinar rejects it.
Well, that happens more in the third book.
It does. But it's just gotta be something like that. Like, why Sadeas started to just really twist. Then again, maybe it was just Sadeas twisting all the time.
I think it's just his ego and his faith in like Alethan sensibilities and you can say that, but you can't just kill someone in cold blood. You need to do it behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Adolin was seriously like half Alethi. Because he has a lot of the instincts of Alethi, but he has like not a lot of the. He because of his father, he's way more practical about it. Mm-hmm. So I think you're right, Ben. Maybe Sadeas thought he was safe.
Yeah,
stouting all of this Alethi nonsense here, and Adolin's just kind of like, fuck you.
Yeah,
and like just killed him. Because I honestly. You're right. Adolin also, like, similar to his sparring matches and his dueling matches, he has a totally realistic view of the difference between dueling and war and where you perceive the two and how the two things. And he's actually skilled enough to recognize how to use those to his advantage.
Yeah.
You know, he's the MMA fighter that knows that a hookfish to the eye or cheek, if he needed to, is going to play the game.
Yeah.
You know? So. Yeah. All right, guys.
I think that wraps it up.
Yeah, for sure. That was a long one.
Right. All right, cheers.
Cheers. We will see you in book 3. And then book 4. I can't wait.
Jeff, did you call it a hookfish?
I did.
Thanks again for joining us for this episode of Lit Literature. If you liked us, please check out our social media at Lit Literature 1 at Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And don't hesitate to join in on the conversation. We appreciate the conversation, the questions, book recommendations, anything of that sort. Join in right on the social media websites. And don't forget to check us out at our website, litliterature.com, and our upcoming projects, though there aren't many now besides Lit Literature, you can find at lyket.net, Lyket. We do have a Patreon account, but if you truly want to support us, please like and share. Cheers.